Honk, a Godzilla movie marathon where we're stomping through Godzilla's filmography. I'm Derek, and I've seen all the Godzilla movies.
And I'm Doug, and I've seen 7 Godzilla movies.
And we're back to the tail end of the 1980s, the year I was born, with the second film of the Heisei era, with Godzilla versus Biollante, also known as Godzilla versus Biollante, Godzilla versus Biollante. Totally just depends on where you look, if you're watching the dub or not. Everyone says it differently. It's all welcome here. I've done the research. No one agrees on it. It's fine. In Japanese, known as Gojira Tai Biollante. So that's how it's pronounced in Japanese. Maybe you just want to say it that way if you want to be safe. Released on Japan on December 16th, 1989. Directed by Kazuko Omori, who also wrote the screenplay, with a story by Shinichiro Kobayashi, produced by Tomoyuki Tanaka and Shogo Toriyama. Special effects by Koichi Kawakita and score by Koichi Sugiyama. But before we get into this movie, we are joined by a special guest. It's Gavin from the Mixed Reviews. What's up, Gavin?
Hi, I've seen somewhere in between the two of you's number of Godzilla movies.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Okay. I'll be curious of the ones that which ones you haven't seen, actually.
It's actually surprisingly most of the Heisei era, because I've seen, I want to say, most of the Showa era. And then a couple years ago, I was like, I'm going to watch all of the next era. And then I got through 3 of them and I got distracted, as one does when they're like me. And I haven't, so I've not gotten past the next one, which I should, because rewatching this made me be like, oh, I need to like get back into this. Why did I? Yeah. So.
Yeah, good question. This era rules.
It does, truly.
Gavin, what is your history with Godzilla then overall?
Well, Godzilla is my father.
Oh,
no,
Yeah, a specialer even guest than we expected.
Yeah. Look, you're one amongst many brothers,
yeah.
so you know.
No, I'm the one that they based that goofy motherfucker off of in the specifically.
Which
I know which one. Damn it!
it!
I'm not the one who can fly, sadly. No,
this is great because I don't know any of them. I have no idea any of the ones you're referencing.
We could literally be making it up.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Are you the one who
There's
can
the one that
shapeshift?
flies, the burrowing, the changeling. One's blue. I don't know.
I'm the one that you have to defeat. I'm the one that you have to defeat second in Mega Man 4. Or else you won't get the bubble bombs, and that's
Makes sense.
No, my history with Godzilla. Oh my god. I guess just watching Turner Classic Movies as a kid. My dad was like a movie guy, but not like a movie guy. I say as somebody who double majored in film. The worst. But yeah, so we watched all sorts of weird things when I was a kid. My dad was a huge fan of like 60s spy television, and he loved like Man in Suit, and I totally get that. So yeah, so I saw a lot of the Showa era specifically as a kid. And then as an adult, I just started to like kind of appreciate them more. It was I remember the first time I saw the Japanese cut of Godzilla, the original, and was like, oh my god, like this is like a deep, sensitive movie.
Good movie. Really good movie.
I was like, and there's no American interstitials. And, but yeah, so like, I guess just been a big fan since I was a kid, you know, but yeah. But yeah, and then like but I've missed a large portion of the more modern ones. And I think partially because I did try and follow that pretentious film train, and for a while I was like, oh, I don't want to watch a man in a suit. Gross. Like, you know, and that's but hey, if we can't admit our flaws, you know, what good are we?
Sure.
Yep.
That's growth.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
That's the way you grow. Yeah.
But I'm better now, I'd like to say. So did my psychiatrist, by the way. I have a note here if you want to check that out.
Good. Now, for the one we're talking about, okay, first of all, we need to lay of the land here. How do you say her name?
I do say Biollante. So
Biollante. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's more like, if you look on what people on Reddit say, for example, most people are going to say Biollante, and a lot of people will accept Biollante because bio does make sense for the biological stuff, although that wasn't intentional, that was an accident. So like it's all kind of a mess. And then if you watch like the English dub, they say Biollante. And that's how I've always said it in my head. I think probably because of the dub. And I do think that it's like a pretty word to say it that way, but like it's more like the Japanese if you say Biollante.
Well, I have two
Right.
things. One, I was born and raised in upstate New York, and we say things wrong all the time with full-throated confidence. There's a town near where I grew up called Gansvert. That is absolutely not how you would pronounce Gansvert in any other place in the world. It would be Gansevoort, because that's how it's spelled. There's another town near me called Greenwich. Guess what? It's Greenwich. That's what everybody else. How were you saying it again? You were saying...
Biollante is how they, like Biollante, and that is how they say it in the dub. That said, it's the Hong Kong International dub, which is the one that people consider kind of the bottom rung, and they also say Godzilla.
Oh yes, they do.
Godzilla,
which is also what we say in upstate New York, so I get it.
There you go.
But Biollante sounds like a really delicious like stomach medicine. So
it kind of does. It kind of does. Doug, where do you fall on the spectrum?
I assumed it was Biollante based just on Japanese words and spelling and pronunciation.
I think that makes the most sense. Like I now that I've been studying a little bit more Japanese, not that you could tell from the way that I say things on this podcast, probably, but I've been studying more of it, and I think it feels better. So I probably am gonna purposely intentionally shift to saying Biollante, even though in my head and probably my heart she's always going to be Biollante to me. But also, who the fuck cares anyway? I'm sure that she would not judge either way, and it's all a made up word. So Gavin, what's your history then with this movie specifically? Because I asked you on this podcast because the impression that I've gotten is that you have a lot of affinity for this movie.
I absolutely do. Biollante is the mother I never had, the sister I never wanted. I watched this one. I watched The Return of Godzilla. That's the previous one. Godzilla Returns. My brain always confuses that with Godzilla Rides Again, which is like a goofier title, but also
Godzilla Raids Again. I love Godzilla Rides Again, though. Like he's on a Western. I kind of love that idea.
I would have believed it.
That's an Ernest movie. Ernest Rides Again.
There you go. There you go.
And once again, I went to film school, so. But The Return of Godzilla. I watched. I was like, this is great. Like this is a fun like serious take. It's very 80s. And I was like, oh, let's continue this. And I remember watching this specific movie the morning of Eurovision of like 2021, whatever was the first Eurovision post like people leaving lockdown, essentially the one they didn't cancel. And we always have a big party every year, and so Dan's in crazy mode setting everything up, and I'm literally sitting on the couch on my laptop like I can't look away. I need to find out more about this daughter. This like, why does Biollante look like a rose? Oh my god, they're psychic children. Like, and I was enraptured. Like I truly do have a lot of affection for this movie because I think it's like weirdly very sweet. It's weirdly emotional, and also I grew up as a huge James Bond fan. My dad loving 60s spy stuff, and this movie is the most James Bond. And I mean, I know you're gonna get to it at some point, but spoiler alert, the director even went out of his way to be like, I don't want to direct a kaiju movie, I want to direct a James Bond movie, and it has kind of that feel to it, to a shocking degree. There's something that happens at very late in the third act that I was like, wait, what? And I had the same reaction this time, and I was like, what? Like, so yeah, I have a lot of affection. Plus, she's a pretty gal, you know?
Yeah. I feel like this movie gets pitched a lot as like a movie that you could introduce to people if they aren't super familiar with Godzilla, because that's how it was always presented to me. Like, I remember, it feels like a lifetime ago now, but it was many, many years ago when I remember putting the question out into the internet of like, I want to watch more Godzilla movies. I don't know that I'll ever watch all of them. Haha, joke's on me. I'll know that. So what would be a good one to just jump into if I've only seen like a small handful of them at this point? And this was the one that was pitched to me. And I feel like that is a pretty common refrain, I think, because it's like, it's still weird enough to show you a taste of what these movies can be when they are weird, but still, like, because it has so much iconography of like James Bond type action and like very specific, like mad scientist creates a monster, kind of like 80s sci-fi horror angles to it. Like it almost is like makes it kind of accessible without like sanitizing its weirdness at the same time. And I fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. And I feel like that ended up being kind of my gateway into being like, okay, maybe I will actually commit to watching all these movies because this movie is fucking wild. But Doug, this was your very first time seeing it. So
yeah,
what are your general overall thoughts of this movie?
I really like this one, and I actually rewatched Return of Godzilla before watching this one.
Smart.
Because I've started to worry I will lose grasp on things.
Sure.
And so I watched both of these first two. Well, I guess technically Return to Showa, but these first two ushering in the Heisei era. And I think I really like it. I think this era might be my shit. We'll see. But it's really good. I like it a lot. There are a lot of moving parts that really could have fallen apart, but they mostly don't. So I really enjoyed this one. I think there's a lot to really chew on.
Yeah, there is.
The special like machine, I don't know, the like flying tank that
the Super X2.
Yes, thank you. The Super X2.
Yeah.
I had completely forgotten about, and that thing fights Godzilla about as many times as Biollante does. And I was like, oh yeah, there's the supercar thing. Like,
yeah, I think that speaks to like how much good shit that there is in the movie, like how much there is in the movie, period. But like how much of it, like that should be a really striking image, seeing that like spaceship shooting its fire mirror at Godzilla. But like, yet the things that stick out of my head are everything but that, honestly. You know what I mean?
I'm a fire mirror apologist then. That shit rules.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's how good everything in the movie is. That like there's so many things you can latch on to that are like cool images that will stick with you. Just depending on like what you're more attracted to, you know? Yeah, it's a fucking wild ass movie. It's the reason it exists is interesting too, because I think that like, I'm glad that you watched Return of Godzilla, Doug, because that movie being the way that it was, and then not really like landing critically and in terms of like box office success is why this movie is, I think, kind of as weird as it is, because that movie didn't, like Return of Godzilla, they wanted it to be a huge movie, and it kind of wasn't, you know?
It's strange though, because upon rewatch, I think I like it a little bit more than when we first talked about it. I don't know if that's because I wasn't having to like think of it as critically. That might really be all it is. But it is kind of weird that it didn't do better, because I think I even described that one as what I would have described a Godzilla movie as prior to this podcast. Like it feels so, I don't know, like Blueprint almost.
I think going back and rewatching, not that you're going to do it every time that you do one from this era, but I do think that is sort of beneficial because this is the era with the continuity. And listen, I'm not like as a person who's been reading comic books since I was 11, like continuity should always be malleable, and it's nothing that should be completely strict. And if you think that, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. But this specifically, like I think it almost behooves you to like keep a lot of that stuff fresh in your mind, though I feel like they do a really great job. I love the fact that this movie opens with the like 4 warnings for the different types. So it's like,
yes. My God,
you know,
so
and
good.
or even like and I know you're not like even into the plot yet, but the like newscasters, or like that is my favorite, the like guy who's doing like the satanic like public access looking type show, and everybody's being interrupted to be like, Godzilla's back, and it's like, you know what, if you had to deal with Godzilla, this might be what real life would be like, where it's just like, so sorry, we have to interrupt this program to be like, hey everybody, sorry, Godzilla is back, like run, abandon your shit, get out of here.
I'm glad you mentioned that stuff though, because obviously we're not going to talk in this entire time about the Return of Godzilla, but I think one of the things that feels very different is that stuff you're talking about. This movie feels like it is way more flavorful and seasoned than that first one does, you know? That one I think
Yeah.
is just a little bit more bland chicken than this one is. There's so much flavor to this movie, and it's all in those things.
Well, and I think a lot of that has to do with the director Kazuki Omori, who like so he's a really interesting guy. I feel like this is so much of his movie, really. Ultimately, he didn't create the vision of this movie, but like he is the visionary that like kind of cracks it. I think, like, for one, interesting guy. He went to medical school, got his license to practice medicine, but was making short films while he was doing it, and
Dope.
was making like literally like Japanese Academy Award nominated indie films.
Hell yeah.
And so I don't think he ever actually like practiced medicine. He just has the license and the knowledge, and it's sort of like, well, now I'll make movies that have doctors in them and write them authentically. There you go. But like, he was so good that it got him attention from film studios. There's a story where when he was working with another film production studio, he was able to get in touch with Tomoyuki Tanaka at Toho, and apparently like directly went to him and berated him for, quote, letting the Godzilla brand deteriorate, and saying that Return of Godzilla just like couldn't compete with the action films that America was making, and also couldn't compete with James Bond because the dude fucking loves James Bond. And I do think, like, to what y'all were saying about how like Return of Godzilla, you watch it now and it's like it is really cool. There's something really neat about it, and I feel the same way. I really like it, and it does feel like a throwback to an era that simply does not exist anymore in a really cool way. But also the counterpoint to that is that it was 1984, and if you do look at every other movie that was being made in 1984, it does kind of blow that movie out of the water, unfortunately, for a million different reasons. And I think that Omori was like very acutely aware of that. Like, I see how you could make a Godzilla movie that stacks up to those movies. It should be able to, and it's weird that it didn't. I think that we can make a better movie than this.
Sure.
And when he gets the job, I think that helps him get the job. And also, he is a talented director. The book Godzilla FAQ that I cite a lot, like, they describe it as kind of like getting an indie director like him to direct a Godzilla movie is kind of like a coup almost. Like, I feel like it's what Marvel wants to be doing when they acquire like, visionary Academy Award winner directors, and then whether or not that works, that's up to your sort of discretion. But I feel like in this case, it is sort of like what Marvel tries to do. But I feel like in this case, they really give Omori like very free creative control to make it an artistic movie. And I think what's interesting is I think he's not approaching it like an art house movie necessarily. He's still approaching it like an action movie, but approaching it artistically as an action movie, if that makes sense, which I think really sets it apart from what Return of Godzilla was doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think you had placed, not that you have an official ranking, but I think you said that, Return is sort of a middling one, and I think that makes perfect sense. I think it's sort of the reboot challenge, right? 10 years since a Godzilla movie, how do you reboot it? And you run the danger of like not doing enough or doing too much, and I think they did maybe not enough.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of this movie, I think, could also be attributed to just how weird it is, even in concept, and how many weird concepts there are. And that, this is so fucking weird. So normally the way a movie gets made is that a screenwriter writes a script. Maybe the studio commissions and hires that writer to write a script. Maybe some executives throw in some ideas, they collaborate. In this case, they actually just did a story contest for pitches from anyone, essentially.
Pardon me?
Which is a thing that Toho has done before. Like, this wasn't the first time. I kind of fucking love it. I think what made this all weird is that in addition to Return of Godzilla not being super successful, and there's like this weirdness of like the King Kong Lives movie that was a sequel to the King Kong remake that comes out in 86 that famously fails pretty catastrophically. So it's like, our monster movie's out, but then on the other side of it, Little Shop of Horrors comes out. That's a huge hit that same year. So it's like, so monster movies aren't out. It's just like, you have to do something kind of unique with a monster movie. They claim that the plant monster being in both movies is a coincidence.
I was going to ask you to.
I can't imagine that still wasn't like, I can see it being a case where it's sort of like, Godzilla fights a plant monster. Like that just makes sense as an idea. But I have to imagine like they see the movie as they're developing, and it's sort of like, that's proof that this can work though. We have the right idea to move forward with this,
I wish at some point if Biollante just let out like a little like freed me, and people are like, what? Nothing. It was fine.
Pardon me? What?
Ignore that.
Did she say something?
But yeah, so like I think all of those factors meant that sort of like we just, no matter what, it seems like we have to be fresh about how we approach this. Ergo, story, like commissioning story pitches from a contest, which they've done in like the 70s and I think early 80s. I don't think it's a thing you could ever do now.
No, that's why I was so alarmed.
Yeah. But like back then, I don't know, not everyone thought of themselves as being able to make a movie like every single person on Earth does now.
There might be some self-selection going on there where people actually have sort of a good idea of their ability to pitch a story.
Yeah. Or like just like literally didn't hear about it,
That too.
because it's harder to get that word around.
Famously, in the late 80s and all the way through the 90s, in fact, Star Trek had a open script submission policy where if you were anybody, like they said that people would be pumping their gas and be like, hey, I have the script, and like pitch it to them, and they would have to pay for it, and they would decide whether that person would then like come and do the rewrites, if they would get on the writing staff, if they become, but so like it's not completely unheard of, but it is a really strange thing to think about when it's just like, oh, just anybody can give you a Godzilla script.
Yeah. Well, it's more like spec scripts are a thing in TV,
right?
But like movies,
not in movies. Yeah,
movies is because it's just you're working on a higher budget. Like you
can write on spec if you're a writer. I do want people to know that I did stay awake during my scriptwriting class. You can write on spec for film as well too, but it's not quite like that. Yeah.
Well, especially for a major studio movie too. Like this is exactly the kind of thing that's just like, you'd think that everyone like in a huge franchise like this is the kind of thing where everyone would kind of have their hands in the pot with it.
And in fact, like oftentimes writers are like, please don't pitch me your stuff because I don't want to run into an instance where I've written something similar and now I'm liable for you to sue me over an idea that we had separately, but just happens to be similar to the one that you are, So.
Well, and that's my current day context, right? Everybody's so accessible that you just you're frequently hearing from creators on Twitter like, hey, can't read that. Hey, don't do that. Hey, stop pitching me things.
Exactly.
In this case, there was like about 5,000 entries, which
just a small amount.
Yeah.
Wow. What a lazy weekend just reading.
Oh God, yeah. Imagine having to read through these, because it wouldn't be like one word pitches. Like they had to be like, rough outlines at least.
Fully formed ideas is what they were looking for.
Do like an abstract or a cover letter. So how do you get through 5,000 of these?
Yeah, and I'm sure many of them were bad.
Yeah.
There were 5 finalists out of these.
Okay.
One of the finalists was Shinichiro Kobayashi. He was a dentist at the time. It wasn't like he had no career in film. He had been a screenwriter on Return of Ultraman. So I'm assuming it probably like he was doing that in the 70s. Probably didn't pay very much, and then he just became a dentist and made way more money. So he had like a little bit of a background in screenwriting, but he wasn't like currently working in film. That wasn't his job. And apparently he was actually like, he wasn't even sure he was going to be able to make the pitch because he had like a doctor's conference, thought he was going to miss the deadline. The conference was over. He had literally 2 days to do the pitch, and he threw it together in 2 days. And that ended up being one of the finalists.
Hell yeah. Do we know, not that you need to go into detail at all, but do we know anything about those, or are they not been like, okay.
Oh yeah. You think I was going to just throw that out there and not try to do a deeper dive on it? Yeah. So the pitch was founded on the idea, this just really nice, light, airy little idea of what would it be like if my 6-month-old daughter died? That was his first thought.
Look, dentists are dark.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for them, but they're dark.
Yeah.
And listen, as an American without dental insurance, how much do you think he costs for cleaning? Just putting it out there. Just want to know.
But that train of thought was sort of like, when he thinks about that, he thinks about how he wishes he could give his daughter immortality. And then his mind sort of goes to like what then is kind of in the air and in the news of like genetic engineering, of sort of like, what if I could genetically engineer my daughter to make her immortal, and how, and like, what are the things that are like the promises, but also the fears sort of connected with that general idea. And then he also simultaneously just has this image of Godzilla being consumed by a flower, and then combine those two ideas together into Biollante.
I, by the way, am so mad because some of my vibe predictions have been pretty good. Like historical context predictions have been pretty good. I'm mad at myself for not having like gotten my finger on the genetic engineering that that was the 80s. You know what I mean? That's irritating to me that I did not think of that. And that's so obviously what is informing this movie.
I also just realized I probably am going to say her name differently every time because I just said Biollante instead of Biollante.
We all know.
I know it's not a problem. It's just funny because it's like, it doesn't. Yeah, I'm going to just make it a point to say it every way possible throughout this podcast. But the other thing about the pitch that was kind of interesting is that it was going to originally have like a second monster in it, like I guess sort of a lower tier monster that would have a rat fish hybrid called Deuterius, I think is what it is. Rat and a fish, but he would have gotten killed early. You know, Biollante was like the big bad of it.
Monsters or like sea louse monsters?
Oh no, like an actual monster.
Oh wow.
Like basically a rat body with a giant monstrous fish head, Godzilla size that they would fight. Yeah. Yeah.
Really going in on that genetic engineering chimera shit.
Yeah. And I think some of the other things that end up in this movie, like there's like the character who becomes Miki, like is originally like a reporter, but she does have like vague psychic visions. This movie just obviously makes her like a child and then expands that into like a whole fucking psychic school and everything. But like the idea of like psychic whatever's happening, I think was originally in that pitch too. So a lot of these general ideas are there. This gets handed over to Kazuki Omori once he signs on to the project, and he's the one who's reading through the finalists and decides on this one, and then spends like 3 years kind of refining it and developing it into what we have now.
Have the other finalists' pitches ever seeped out into the public?
I know one of them because it did become a movie.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I know the one that you know of.
Gunhead?
Well, I know one of them did become Gunhead. Is Gun I've not seen Gunhead. There was also one about like Nazis.
Okay, I'm not familiar. You know what? I didn't look into what all the other finalists were. That's actually that is a good question though.
It could be its own thing if you find them.
Yeah. I'll see if they sound interesting or if you can read them or something. Gunhead was one that definitely, it was like the pitch was Godzilla fights like a supercomputer type villain, and then Gunhead basically takes Godzilla out of it and makes it kind of like a Terminator riff essentially.
Oh, I've never even heard of Gunhead. This is
it's
new to me.
It's a Japanese 80s movie. I've never seen it. I haven't heard great things, but I've heard the special effects in it are really good, and it's the same effects director that works on this movie worked on Gunhead.
All right.
So that's Koichi Kawakita. He's also interesting because he has worked in Godzilla for a very long time. He dropped out of college when he was 19 to join Tsuburai's special effects teams. He worked on Godzilla movies as early as King Kong versus Godzilla.
Oh, wow.
So he was in that scope for a very long time. When Tsuburai died in 1970, Kawakita was sort of bouncing around. So like he left Toho, but was working with Tsuburai Productions. He did a bunch of Ultraman stuff. He returned to Toho for the Zone Fighters show, which I don't know if you're familiar with this, Doug. That is a tokusatsu show that is technically in the same universe as Showa era Godzilla, and Godzilla makes a couple of appearances in that show. I've seen a couple episodes of it. It's really fun. It's just a low budget kaiju toku show. It's great.
It looks very similar to an Ultraman.
It's an Ultraman ripoff. Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
1000%.
It truly does.
If you had just shown me a picture of this, I would have thought it was an Ultraman Godzilla crossover.
Yeah.
I think that maybe is the reason why it eventually ended, was because
Tsuburaya was like, you gotta stop.
you can't do this. But yeah, so, he's had his fingers in Godzilla in one way or another for literal decades. Yeah. He directed a documentary on the making of Return of Godzilla.
Oh.
So like he's never not been in the orbit. And then, Nakano did the special effects from Return of Godzilla, but that was his last movie that he ended up working on. So Kawakita just succeeds Nakano. Like it's a natural thing.
Yeah.
He's been working in this sort of area for a very long time. What do y'all think of the special effects in this movie? Because I feel like they're fucking killer. Like
there is some stuff
genuinely
in this.
Some of the best ever.
I think some of this is some of the best stuff we've seen to date, and we've seen things in the future from this. Like we've seen things beyond this. This is, I mean, again, not necessarily getting deep into plot stuff, but like all those like aerial fighter jet shots in like combat with Godzilla are incredible. They're so cool. And that's like the tip of the iceberg of cool shit that this movie does.
Did I read somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this was the first one to use like actual remote controlled essentially like toy helicopters and whatnot during some of the battle scenes?
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, I don't know if it was fully like the first one to use anything like that, but like this is the first one to really go hard on that. Yeah, there's remote control helicopters. They fire real like mini missiles.
You can
like,
see them bouncing.
They were firing actual fucking missiles.
You can see shit bouncing off of him.
Yeah, he used a lot of, they call it like live practical effects, not like stuff that's in camera.
Right.
You know, like stuff that, you know, maybe would be, that you could theoretically in 1989, like digitally add things.
Sure.
But he's like, no, we're going to literally put bulbs into Godzilla's back fins.
Right.
So you actually see light. Like, he did a lot of stuff like that, which is really fucking cool.
That's what I was just going to bring up, is the spines this time actually glow on their own, which is very cool.
And there's so few seams. Like in any given type of special effect they're pulling off, whether it's the most practical of practical or something that is done with a computer, or if it is, you know, rotoscoped, like there are so few seams with the effects in this movie.
Right. My favorite of all the effects is just the first reveal of Biollante after she's escaped the place that she genetically engineered at, and you just see her in the lake, and she kind of looks almost like an angel. Like she has like her arms that look like two wings and a giant flower head, and it's very like the image of that, the like silhouette of that is so beautiful and so striking,
especially in that lake. Like the vastness of what they're able to pull off with water, not just in the ocean but within that lake, is really impressive.
I was trying to read some of the technical stuff and I didn't understand it because I don't really understand cameras very well. So I didn't even put it in the notes because I'm like, I would just be saying words that I don't understand. But my understanding is that like the composite work done on this movie was like genuinely innovative for Japan, in that like some of the actual like camera techniques that they employed, or like camera technology that they were using, it's stuff that had already existed, but like it wasn't, I guess like it was either hard to, I don't know why it would be a problem, but maybe actually figuring out exactly how to light it and cut it together without seeing those sort of like jittery seams around your composite shots. I think that was still really hard. And this is sort of regarded as like the first movie in Japan that just really fucking nails it. And like, so there are some composite shots that you can't tell that they're composite shots.
This is the first color picture we've seen that has really done a good job with the composite shots, like from beginning to end.
Yeah, there's a shot of Godzilla. I don't want to refer to him as sneaking up on a person because he clearly isn't, but the guy in the building with the rocket launcher.
In this movie, though.
Yeah,
if we're being real.
And like him just seeing Godzilla like slowly move towards him, behind him, and as he turns around with the rocket launcher, and that whole compositing is really beautiful.
Yeah, there's that when he's facing Miki on the helicopter pad. Like that's my favorite scene of the movie.
Yes,
it looks so good.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about Miki. She's so good.
Oh yeah. The other thing I wanted to say about the effects too, that it's not a thing that I picked up on, and I don't think that you would. I think that's part of why it's good. Is like Kawakita, I think it was kind of innovative, honestly, but like when making the scaled cities and the scaled props, he used like forced perspective effects on them. Like when Tsuburaya would do it, it would be literally just everything is just to scale. Like you build a model city to like versus how big you want your Godzilla to be in comparison. And that's very straight on, almost as if you were doing like a play. In this case, it would depend on, he was basing it on what camera angles he was going to use. And so if you were on set, it would be like, this city looks way too big for this Godzilla, or vice versa. But it's because he's doing like the Lord of the Rings, like Hobbit, like forced perspective stuff on Godzilla with the cities. And so would specifically build them around that, like with those plans in mind.
No, that's so smart though, because like it feels obvious to make the city and make it in proportion to the monster that's going to be smashing it. But then you have to do all your shots in response to that, and building your city instead in response to what you want things to look like on camera makes so much sense. But I imagine it's really hard. I'm so glad you brought this up, because there was something that my brain could identify as like particularly cool about the miniatures and the model city and stuff, but I could not for the life of me put a finger on it, like I don't know how I would have known that.
Yeah.
But it looked really cool. There was something about it that felt different.
The other thing that he did obviously was help design these monsters. You want to talk about these fucking monster designs?
Yeah. Yes,
Oh
I
my
do.
They're
God.
so good.
I don't even know where to start. Okay, well, start with Godzilla. I guess that's the easiest thing. Biollante is gonna have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
This Godzilla suit is named Biogoji or Biogoji, whatever. Obviously, you know why it's called that. It's portrayed by the same guy who portrayed him in The Return of Godzilla, Kenpachiro Satsuma. He came back for it, and he kind of specifically felt like his 1984 performance was too much of an imitation of what Nakajima did in the Showa era. So in this
And
movie,
frankly, I agree.
so he like specifically was challenging himself to make Godzilla like kind of his own in this movie. So there's a lot less, like he intentionally was like, I'm going to make it a point to do less anthropomorphism in this. I'm gonna be more like a realistic animal, like less like human movements. There's a more like, he focused more on like small details. He specifically points out like finger movements that he'd use to portray emotions, which like I can't even think of an example, but I guess that makes sense,
I think during that scene with the helicopter pad, actually, like because he does do like a weird sort of, there is like a weird moment where she's communicating with him telepathically, and I love that you're just never privy to that conversation, by the way. And, like you truly don't know what's happening between them. You just know that like whatever it is, it's too much for her. And he like makes this, and I noticed it this time, he like makes this kind of like almost like shrug, and he moves his hands up like this, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, because it's almost like he wants to talk to her, but like it's not, there's something being lost between them.
Oh, I love that. I never interpreted it like that, but I love that interpretation.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if he even, I mean, it's Godzilla, like who knows what's going on in his head.
But the fact that like he provided those movements for you to interpret it all, like it would have been so easy for him to either be still and try to look menacing, or like do some some big gestures or something.
Oh my God, if he had choreography, if he was just like
start voguing at her,
Yeah, exactly.
Voguing with his little Godzilla arms.
Is he doing the Thriller dance? Yep. That's Godzilla.
But obviously the other thing that makes this Godzilla stand out is the look of this Godzilla. Doug, this is your first time seeing this Godzilla design. It's a very popular one.
Yeah.
I think for good reason.
Yeah. It's great. It's really good. I would have been, I liked Return quite a bit. I think there was really only one thing I didn't love about the Return suit. And it was like the eyes. So I was kind of expecting, particularly in this era where I'm expecting some continuity for the suits, not necessarily to drastically change. And I don't know that this is a massive change or a super drastic change, but it's changed in particular ways that I really like. I love its proportions. The head is smaller, which I really like, not by a ton, but noticeably smaller. And sort of the shape of the snout and just how the head is shaped is different. The several rows of teeth.
Yep. Oh. There you go.
That was a pitch from our dentist dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, I know teeth.
Come through.
Yeah.
He's like, I want him to have multiple rows and make
that
sure
makes
he
so
looks
much
like
sense
he had.
because Biollante also has so many
much teeth. So many teeth. So many teeth in this movie. Yeah, you can really feel the dentist's fingers in the mouths of this movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
I love like the face was intentionally made to be like more feline, which is why you get the meme
big,
of like Godzilla is a cat.
Cat cheeks, the little little cat lips and cheeks. Yep.
Yeah, and little ears. Fucking love it. I love this Godzilla design so much.
This is probably my favorite one that we've seen so far. Well, actually, this is definitely my favorite one that we've seen.
Even
so
beyond
far.
the Godzilla 2001,
Godzilla
Miragoji.
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the eyes too, because specifically he had them remove the whites from the eyes, and like there's still a little white to it on the side. Like there is still, the iris and the pupil take up 80% of the eye though, and so like it makes him look a little less. It's a little less anthropomorphic.
Yeah,
it's a little more animalistic. I think you also need to create a game, Derek. called "How Much Does the Godzilla Suit Weigh in This Movie?"
Oh, yeah.
For Doug.
Yes.
Because I think
it's fucking heavy.
the last one, I was listening to our podcast. The last one was like, what, 260 or something? 240, 260?
That sounds right. I feel like they've been roughly around that much for the good-looking Godzilla suits that we've encountered.
Well, I also happened to see, I mean, I try not to look at too much because I know you're going to kind of point me in the direction, but I did see like a skinless version of the suit and like never really thought like what was in there. And so like
I actually didn't even I don't know that I probably have seen it, but I can't think
it was
of it.
weird because you can see the actor, but then there's like all the padding in the shape of Godzilla, and it really made sense to me in that moment why it weighs as much as it does. Like you can see the size of it, you can kind of guess why it would weigh a lot, but actually seeing the stuff in there that's like basic, I mean, it's like drag padding, but you're making a fucking dragon. You know what I mean? So it's so much, and it really provided some perspective.
Yeah, a lot of it in those thick thighs and childbearing hips that he has.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Proportionizing.
I hate when Godzilla rocks the runway and he's not padded at all. He's one of those girls, one of the newer girls.
Come on, when Godzilla walks out without any titties, I swear to God.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like
these new girls.
Strap on a couch. Damn it.
Mm-hmm.
It was about what a lot of the other ones were. It was about 250 pounds.
Okay.
So still a hefster, but I mean, like a lot of them have been.
Yeah.
Honestly. But that said, Satsuma still feels like this was the most comfortable one he ever wore, specifically because of those thick thighs meant that Godzilla had like a really low center of gravity. So it actually, you wouldn't think that like having big legs would mean more mobility, but it was easier for him to walk because he could move around a lot more without feeling like he's going to fall over.
Yeah, for sure. That makes total sense.
There's a slightly lighter version that was made specifically for the water scenes. It's like 176 pounds or something like that.
Because that shit would soak up so much water.
Right. I was going to say 170, when you drop down from like 242 to 176, I feel like then drop it in water.
Yeah.
The weight amount is negligible
Well,
as to what.
So I have a question about this because last episode we talked about a suit being on fire, like literally on fire, on accident. In this movie, he is underwater face first several times, and I don't know if you've encountered anything about that, but that is scarier to me than the suit being on fire. Like how much water is able to get in the suit when he's doing that? Because that that seems terrifying to me. Like,
yeah,
he falls face first into the ocean at the end of the movie, and he's like almost,
I'm not sure,
like almost submerged in his first battle with Biollante.
I mean, because like they have to be.
He can't get up himself, can he?
No.
They have to no.
Yeah.
And they have to be breathable-ish, right? Which means that
Right.
water it means it has to be porous, which means water will get in. So I think that like he is down there holding his breath in the Godzilla suit.
That's horrifying.
Surrounded by heavy water probably. But you know, that's why
horrifying.
the job is tough.
I mean, that's like real terrifying stuntman shit where you have people like ready just outside the camera.
Yeah.
Like, all right, he's down. We got the shot. Get in there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad you're here, Doug, because you ask these questions and I like literally like I'm just like, here's a monster on screen, love it. But it's like
Derek's like, no, that's Godzilla.
That's Godzilla.
Yeah, he swims he lives underwater.
Lives
What are you talking about?
I believe he also had to wear goggles for the explosion scenes. So like, there's also there's already limited visual things happening, so just having to put him in goggles as well too.
Yeah, neither of them could see each other at all.
Oh, I'm sure.
And also, as Derek mentioned before, this suit is also electric, which only electrocuted him once. Only once.
Wait, hold on. More details, please.
It was the first. I think it was the first time. I think when they with the bulb because of the bulbs in his fins.
Yeah.
And they
because the first time he uses it,
electrocuted
it's
him.
in water, right?
Yes, I do think, and I did notice this time because I was looking for it. I think those ones are specifically like enhanced to avoid them having to light up in the water. So I'm assuming the 176-pound suit maybe didn't have the light bulb fins.
Probably, yeah.
But the other every other
okay.
time you see him do the atomic breath they do light up on their own and whatnot. But yeah, they did say it was a quick fix once they figured out that it would electrocute him again if they tried it again. But I feel like getting zapped once is enough.
Right? Any of these people who are in these monster suits, especially Godzilla, like I could never. It's like a different breed of human. Like that is an advanced human being.
Tokusatsu loves to try to murder people in costumes.
Oh my
like
gosh.
That's just what Toku is, really.
Oh.
They're like, you dared to dress up as it, we're gonna take you out.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you want to play this invincible monster, you have to prove that you're invincible.
Oh, exactly. Acting. Daniel Day-Lewis could do it. Come on.
They did do a little more Cybot adjacent type things. It wasn't obviously to the extent that Return of Godzilla did, because that was kind of famously like, They had like 4 models of the upper half of Godzilla for close-ups. They actually did a mold that was like actually matched the suit, so it's a lot harder to tell what's a robot and what's not, and it's really just for like really intricate eye movements, the articulated tongue. Whenever you see that's one of the robots as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, by far the hardest to identify. In fact, so much so that I didn't think about it at all when I was watching the movie.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've thought about it. And in other ones I've asked specifically like how many different Godzillas we're working with, so nice job.
Yeah.
I do believe they attempted to incorporate stop motion and it just looked too different, and they were like, nah, abandon it.
There's a couple things actually. So they try to do stop motion fight between Godzilla and Biollante. And yeah, it was the case. It was just like you would be able to tell it's 1989. Like I love stop motion, but unfortunately that's like more out the door. They also did a weird thing that you can watch it online. The original version of the ending, Biollante was gonna eat Godzilla, and then they both like go up into the sky together.
Whoa.
And the way that they did that was by literally like animating, like they transition into what basically looks like an animation of Biollante eating Godzilla. Like it literally looks like that, and you can watch that on YouTube if you want. It looks really cool, but if you were watching that in the context of the movie, it would take you out of it immediately.
That's the thing. I would gladly watch an anime sort of adaptation of this story. Pretty one for one, if we're being real. But having it just suddenly appear at the end would not be my favorite thing.
Yeah. It was a good choice to cut them, but I do think it speaks to like how experimental they were willing to be with this movie, which I really appreciate a lot.
Yeah, throw it all at the wall.
Oh yeah, it's so sorry. I just
watch it.
And it's so wild how like it is just an anime all of a sudden.
Literally just a fucking anime.
It's not even like trying to hide that it's animated. Like it's not like going for realism. That's, you know what? The guts.
Yeah.
the guts it takes to try and
beautiful animation. Like it looks really cool.
Oh yeah. Because there's like the rows and
Yeah. Speaking of our girl, the star of the show, we get 2 forms of her. Both of them are fucking gorgeous. Some of the coolest fucking shit in the world is Biollante's whole deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and like just by sheer mass, the biggest monster you and I have talked about. Like Mothra was massive by her wings, but just sheer mass, Biollante is noticeably much bigger than Godzilla. Like huge by the end.
Seriously.
Really, really cool.
Fun fact about her name, Biollante is not, in fact, a god from Norse mythology.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
That's not real.
Biollante sounds so Norse.
Yeah, exactly.
So weird.
Every third character on Vikings was called Biollante, Derek. You can't tell me you're more...
It's actually really confusing.
Yeah. That was Kobayashi, when he made the pitch, like coined it. There wasn't any like the bioengineering thing was a total coincidence. I think he literally like read a French poem, saw the French word for violin, which is like choulan, I think is how you say it in French, and was like, that's a really pretty word. He added the katakana character te, choulante, and that became Biollante, essentially. That's really all it is. It's just a pretty sounding word.
I mean, it is a pretty sounding word. It is just so funny, so difficult to believe that the BIO on this is completely irrelevant to the content of this movie. That is wild, and I know it's true, but I feel like I reject it anyway.
It's so funny. But yeah, the flower form, this is the one that like there's technically one actor in that form, but what's weird is that depending on where you look, it's like two different names for it. It's either Takagami Akio or Masao Takagami, and in that order. So I don't know what their first or last name is or whatever. Either way, whoever that Takagami person is, they like sat on the trunk of her flower form on this platform that was just above the water and sort of operated any of the movements that were needed.
Well, it's nice they didn't have to stand the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, like the vines that come out are different. Like that's operated by crew and stuff, but like the actual bodily movement is just that person sitting in the suit.
Also, well, not that it was a shocking prediction or even an official prediction, but I didn't say it with 100% certainty, but Biollante, plant. I did say Biollante.
Yeah.
That's one thing I knew about her was that she was a plant. There's more to it than that, but she is a plant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was worried, like after we recorded that, I was like, what if she's not a plant? I said it with like such gusto.
That's so funny. I don't have much to say about the flower form. It's really pretty.
Yeah.
And I love that it's a
really
flower
gorgeous.
with teeth.
Mm-hmm.
But it is also like pretty much what you would expect of a rose monster, really, other than those teeth.
I love her final form. I like it more, like if I say this to not be misinterpreted. I love the final form and love it even more so than the flower thing, but I also love the idea of this monster that is just like this lake flower monster with like vine tentacles. Like I don't really know how you would pull that off in a monster versus monster action movie, more so than what they're able to pull off here. But I love that idea. Like I love that she starts off as just sort of this stationary thing, which is totally different than anything else we've seen so far, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is like a pretty obvious sort of like ambulatory monster.
Right.
What's funny is that they did try to figure out how to make her second form more of a flower than like the sort of crocodilian monster. Yeah, it was going to be basically it would evolve into like a flower with a human's face.
Yeah.
That said, one of the ideas would be like just a woman and she could talk and stuff. So I guess it would be like Erica talking. That would be a little bit weird. And I could see why they maybe steered away from that. But the idea of like, and just making it just a more monstrous flower.
Yeah.
Would have been like that maybe was more mobile. Also, I see how that would have been really cool.
She reminds me of in this like concept art.
Yeah. I sent the concept art to the listeners. Sorry.
Yeah. She reminds me of like Sentai monsters around like Go-Go V-ish sort of era where it's like big thing with like kind of static like feminine face, Mm-hmm. There's something sort of unsettling about a face just being in something that shouldn't have a face. And I love that. I love that on this.
Yeah. They obviously didn't go with that. They went with what we got, which was the most complicated ass prop ever known to man.
There's so much going on.
So much happening.
And it is fun that she is the monster who gets to introduce you haven't even seen my final form yet to the Godzilla movies.
That's
like,
so true. Yeah.
Is she the first that has sort of like a transformation like this?
Hedorah technically transforms.
I mean,
but
yes.
it's a little bit, but it feels different though. And I don't know why.
It does feel
different, right? Because I feel like you have not met Hedorah yet, Doug. But like, I do think that the radical change between forms is what makes this feel distinct. Like Hedorah always still kind of looks like Hedorah in all of its forms.
Okay.
I can't think of another one. And and then like there's a like Mothra like evolves like through a cocoon, right?
Sure.
But like in terms of just like you could watch this movie and just expect that the monster is what it looks like and what you're seeing, and then it gets destroyed and then it's over.
Yeah.
And then this is your Final Fantasy one-winged angel Sephiroth coming out of nowhere kind of thing.
I mean, this is a little plotty, but I will say I was like shocked that Biollante was defeated. I'm putting up air quotes as early as she was. I was suspicious, but it was early, and I was like, that. I mean, it wouldn't be the only Godzilla movie to do something kind of like that, and then Godzilla still, is a problem to be dealt with. But I was shocked that could have been a possibility. So very glad there was a final form, and final boss.
Yeah.
mode.
Godzilla versus X-22 doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah.
Or whatever the name of the plane is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what it truly feels like that towards the second half. You're like,
So true.
TikTok, mama, you coming back?
Yeah.
like
And then she comes back.
exactly.
Yeah, really, her final form isn't in the movie a lot, really. Like it's only the last
No.
she's in the last 20 minutes and maybe like 10 minutes of the last. 20
but it
minutes.
leaves.
Yeah,
the
I was gonna say
impression.
I don't even think it's the last 20 minutes. I do think it's around like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because when I was watching it earlier, I was like, it's like we're really hedging towards the end of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it is like, I don't know how much they could have possibly filmed with her because this prop
Yeah.
is so fucking complicated.
How does this
Apparently,
work? 'Cause
allegedly,
it moves. They move it.
allegedly, the story is that when they created the prop and then brought it to the crew who would be operating it, like the special effects crew, they all like gasped and were like, "Are we really gonna do that?"
Hell yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Depending on where you read, I read that it's 32 piano wires and a crew of 20 people that operated. I've also read that it's just 32 people in total that operated.
Oh my
Either way,
gosh.
somewhere between 30 and 20 and 30 people are operating this thing that's 3 meters long.
That has to be the most I mean, outside of like -1 being a computer animated monster, like that has to be the most people who've operated a monster in any of these movies, right? That's so many people.
I know it's more than what Ghidorah is typically.
Oh, I didn't even think about Ghidorah. I don't really know much about what Ghidorah does, but I do have an
because that would be
image
the
of
other
Ghidorah.
one that would be complicated just because
Sure.
he has the heads.
But 30 people, 30 plus people.
If it isn't the number one like most complicated physical practical monster, then it's up there. Like it's gotta be.
I mean,
yeah,
I would be curious, like not even just confined to the Godzilla franchise, but just like practical monster effects. I would
Yeah.
love to know what the largest number of
Number
people
one.
having to simultaneously operate something like this even would be. Because
There's
30
definitely
plus
an
people
answer,
is a
yeah.
lot of people.
The nice thing about the vines, tendrils, operating on their own is that like there doesn't necessarily, I mean, there has to be some method to it, like so they're not all just constantly bumping into each other, but at least it's it's a little more free, so it's not like there's a
Sure.
mass amount of choreography between every single vine.
Oh, that said, though, that's true because it's not like it's 30 people literally doing everything at the same time all the time. That is a really
exactly.
good point. That said, like Satsuma who played Godzilla, like he said it was like working with the vines was still really hard because the thing with the vines is that because they're just vines on fucking piano wire, it's like it's not like acting like a marionette in the way that like Mothra is, for example. And so when he would try to be fighting it, there's no tension or anything like that. Like it is just a fucking like tube kind of hitting him in the face. And he was saying like trying to act against that, especially when your vision is really low,
Trying to
is
sell
so hard. Yeah, and like he specifically was like normally like he would try to operate at like 70% of his full strength for anything he did with Godzilla because the suit is so heavy that he would wear himself out.
Sure.
And you would think that like wrestling another monster or something would be where you put more effort into. But he said like the vines were the place where you had to put 100% effort into because he has to react like they're being violent with him. He has to react like they're incredibly strong when the reality is that they are literally just like fucking rubber tubes on piano wire banging him in the face. And he has to do all the acting on that, you know?
Yeah.
It's 20 children with water noodles just beating Godzilla.
Right.
Like,
And Doug, you mentioned her moving. It surprises me. I've seen this movie so many
It's
times.
shocking.
And
It
it's
is
shocking because I forget every time because she looks so static and, pardon the pun, but planted into the ground, you know? And then she,
Get out.
yeah.
I'm the new host.
But like then she fucking just slides up to him out of nowhere. That wasn't planned.
It's so
like
cool.
no
Yeah.
one intended for her to move.
What? How?
Like,
what?
Because
How's
how
that
would you
even
fucking
possible?
move that prop? How would you fucking move it? And Kawakita like is there like on set and it's like, we gotta fucking move her. And they just fucking just slid the prop. That's all they did. But they shot it really well.
It's so Yeah, because it's so otherworldly when it does happen. So that's really funny. Like that it's certainly not intentional.
They said that like the crew was like laughing when they did it because they're like, "Are we really doing this?" But they're good. This crew is so good at shooting things on film that they make just fucking dragging this prop across the ground look like the coolest thing ever.
I'm like,
I know,
speechless.
it doesn't make any sense.
Like,
it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand.
So that was like a game time decision to have her move?
I mean, I'm sure that wasn't like we're doing this now. I'm sure they like still had to plan for it.
Well, but I mean, like she
wasn't
built to move.
Right. She wasn't built to do that. Exactly.
Get the wheels out from
like,
storage.
I just would have assumed that they would have put wheels on her or something.
Right.
That's unbelievable. Oh my gosh. And that makes that even more impressive because it really is a shocking, effective moment when she is like, just charging at Godzilla, and you're like, no, you shouldn't move. You're too big. Like, don't do that.
It's too big.
Yeah. It's wild. It's so fucking cool. Everything about her.
Yeah, she rules.
Is so cool. The only fun little fact I had was that acid sap that she shoots out that she like vomits out. Apparently that shit stains everything, which
believable.
Why?
What? I don't, whatever they put in it, whatever the dye was. I couldn't find what it was made out of, but whatever it was made out of stained everything, which wouldn't be a problem on like a set where you have like everything choreographed and it's aimed directly where it needs to go. But the problem was that nobody who's operating any of these monsters can see shit. Yeah. So it would just kind of go everywhere anyway.
Yeah. A little bit messier than like Mothra's, silk or whatever.
Silly string.
Yeah.
Silly string.
Right. Yeah, you did say this era would be wet, and you were not lying.
Wet. Yep, it's wet. It's messy. I slimy. I fucking love it so much.
Yeah, but he was just referring to the audience. He wasn't.
Look! When you see that Biollante prop move,
exactly, you're like,
well.
Before you move off and I did mean to bring this up when you were talking about Godzilla's model, and just mentioning, Doug, that is your favorite. You're in good company. Apparently John Carpenter, I don't know if this is the case still, but for years had this specific Godzilla model on his desk because he's such a huge Godzilla fan. So was. So it's nice little nod from a master of horror too.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Most of the little figures and art that I have most of them are of a Godzilla from this era that, if not is this specific suit, is one of the ones that looks really similar to it. Like this is definitely, I don't think this exact suit is not my favorite, but like one of the ones that's like one of the later ones that's sort of a riff on this suit. Absolutely is.
It's just interesting because like the suits we've seen to this point, like I was getting used to certain Godzilla proportions that I maybe wasn't used to, and was starting to sort of be like, okay, so this is actually the proportions I should be expecting. I'm kind of getting used to it. And then I saw this one, I was like, or some part of me knew that the proportions could be better. They could be even better,
The one other thing before we get to just like go hog wild with the plot stuff, because that'll be a 3-hour conversation on its own. We'll be here for all night, guys. The music for this movie, I wanted to talk a little bit about, because everything about the music and the composer is very, very, very interesting in many ways. I'll be curious what everybody's takes on it is. So the composer is Koichi Sugiyama. He famously is actually very well known for video game music.
Okay.
He is the lead composer of the Dragon Quest games. He worked on
either
all of them or most of them from its inception, right alongside Akira Toriyama, all the way until 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Omori specifically wanted to bring in a distinctive new sound. So, and I think Sugiyama has crossed over a little bit. Like there's a specific song from Godzilla vs. Ghidorah that's credited to him. He wrote the opening theme for Return of Ultraman. So like, it's not like he's never written for tokusatsu stuff before. And I think they wanted something different, and he delivered something different. What do y'all think?
Here's the thing.
Oh boy.
Here's the thing.
Interesting.
The composition of any given piece of music I like. There's not really any music in this that I'm listening to and like, oh, I don't like this song. I do think the way music is used in this movie is extremely hit or miss. Sometimes it's like,
fair.
oh, fuck yeah, they nailed like the entire vibe here. And then sometimes they're playing like weird triumphant sort of like military music, like the end credits music over like what should be a really suspenseful, scary moment. Like I really do think the way they or sometimes they just cut a song off. They just fully cut it off.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this, Gavin, as an editor. I know this isn't totally your purview because it's score, but like, I don't feel like I ever see this in a movie where like songs just fucking end when scenes cut unless they're specifically trying to give a weird vibe about it.
Yeah. I mean, it truly depends. There are at least a decent number of films from the 70s that do that, that aren't going for that. I mean, a lot of times it's mostly because something is either cheap or sort of cut on a rush. That's clearly not the case here, because this is both very expensive and like there was a lot of attention to detail put into it. So yeah, I'm also curious about that too. I've not seen the English dub at all, which is, as you said, the Hong Kong international version.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's different in any way.
That is a completely uncut version of it.
Man,
cool.
That was an opportunity. That was an opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting question. I have no idea why it was done that way. And the only other thing I would say about the score is like, I don't like, there's moments like towards the end, there's that chase scene, the car chase scene. And I was like, what are we doing with Danny Elfman Oompa music going on?
Oh,
like, what is
Oompas,
happening?
Dude.
Like
the Oompas are the perfect example of like, this piece of music I appreciate and I like it as it is composed. But I almost never felt like that I know exactly which piece of music you're talking about, and it almost never felt like it was being used correctly, which is weird. And luckily, the rest of the movie, everything else about the movie is like so put together and well done that it didn't fully take me out. But I think people who listen to me and Derek talk about stuff, music is usually a thing I don't notice until I'm on a rewatch or I'm really paying attention to it. And this I noticed immediately.
I'm glad you said that, Doug, because I think that I have the answer for why that is that Sugiyama wrote the music, but obviously like an orchestra has to perform this.
Yeah.
And they have an orchestra headed by David Howell, who orchestrated it. But apparently, like, he didn't actually watch the movie at all. He just sort of orchestrated Sugiyama's music to what he imagined the movie probably would be.
Okay.
Which is I don't think that's normally how it goes.
No, it's not.
And I think that's why. So, like, I think the problem is less Sugiyama's like music, which I think is why what you were saying is sort of like, oh, these individual pieces of music seem to be written like good pieces of music. It just doesn't match the scene. It's because like Sugiyama might have wrote something, but you maybe wouldn't necessarily orchestrate, or you'd want to tweak it once you've seen the final, the actual cut that you're watching. And that wasn't done because the dude who's orchestrating it hadn't seen the movie, and it's sort of like, I guess it's a more it's a Godzilla movie. They're all fantasy movies, right? And then made it sound like a kind of a fantastical movie.
That's wild. I mean, I don't know a lot about this particular topic, but everything I have seen has all been through through the context of Pixar and watching, their composers work, and they're always looking at screens and scenes, and like they're always looking at the movie that they're working on.
that makes me think it's like the reverse Thomas Crown Affair from the 60s. Norman Jewson's Thomas Crown Affair from 1968. Michel Legrand did the music, and what they did is they sent him the like 3-hour cut of what they had, and he wrote them 90 minutes of music because he was so inspired, and then they just went back and edited the movie to that 90 minutes of music.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And it's beautiful. It's Hal Ashby, I think, is the editor on the it's wonderful. It's like absolutely brilliant idea, and it works. So
that is so strange. It feels like such a weird disconnect to have. Like I know that they're not always going to be in the exact same spot working together on everything every step of the way, but like for it to be completely disconnected like that is wild.
Yeah.
The only other example I really know of is I think The Boy and the Heron, but that was like the other way around, where it's like Miyazaki was like, I trust you, I've worked with you so many times, just go ahead and score it however you want. Like, just didn't give any input, and that's fine because he knows who he hired. Like, that makes sense to me.
It's so funny. Composers are replaced on movies all the time. Like, people will get to the end of making a movie, and the person will submit the score, and they'll start placing it to it and be like, this doesn't work, and hire another person. So like, it's funny to be like, yeah, I guess we're just going to take this. I guess we're just going to do this, guys. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, it's so strange.
But like, we're putting Danny Elfman's The Breakfast Machine on.
There really are moments, though. Like that rock version of the Godzilla theme at the start of this. Ooh.
Oh, okay, fun fact. You might not even recognize this. Our theme song for this podcast, it is a synth cover of that rock remix of the Godzilla theme.
Maybe that's why I felt such an affinity for it.
Which is called BioWars. Yeah, our theme song, it's a synth cover of BioWars that Queer Kaiju did. You can find all of their music on YouTube. The majority of their stuff is synth covers of Godzilla and or like Toku and Kaiju movies and scores. It always fucking rocks. The BioWars cover, the reason why I love it so much and use it for the podcast is because I think that Queer Kaiju really found a way to like highlight the Godzilla theme in it more than what you actually really hear in the original version of the song.
Yeah.
But I also think the original version of the song still fucking rips.
Absolutely.
It's so cool.
So good.
Yeah. Do you ever, is there any point in which you're like, Pharaoh Monch's Simon Says, are you like always expecting that to start at some point? Are either of you, do you even know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea what you mean.
Have either of you ever seen Charlie's Angels, the Drew Barrymore comedy?
I don't think I ever actually watched
I don't know if I've seen the whole thing all the way through, but I know I've seen some of it, pieces of it. I don't know.
There's a third act twist. A character is revealed to be somebody that they're not, and they have a very celebratory dance, and it's set to Pharaoh Monch's Simon Says, and the base of that is the Godzilla theme. The like, da-na-na-na. Yeah,
interesting,
it's amazing. And every time I'm like, where's the rap? And it never comes.
Interesting,
because it's the Godzilla theme and not
to find it. Yeah. That's so
I'm shocked. I'm never the cool person who's like, listen to this rap song, guys. So hey, I'm just gonna take that merit badge, stick it on this sash, and be happy for the rest of my night.
Congratulations. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look that up.
For sure.
Anything that uses like anything Godzilla in the music, I'm here for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's also this apparently the song is like people have discovered it because it's like in some Mr. Incredible meme.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I only know it because people were sort of like, I found this from the Mr. Incredible. It's Mr. Incredible, right? That's his name?
Yeah.
I almost wanted to call him Captain Incredible. And I was like, that's
Mr. Incredible.
I did a whole podcast on Pixar movies, by the way.
Yes.
No, there's like some meme with him and they just like, it's just like, I don't understand it. It's like different versions.
Is this a
images
Zoomer
of Mr.
meme?
Incredible.
Is it just crunchy memes?
It's some Zoomer meme. But at one point, a bit of the BioWars song plays, and then people, so like Zoomers have discovered this bit of the Biollante soundtrack from that meme. Sure.
Whatever it takes,
Whatever it takes. Yeah, yeah. You know who did not like this remix of the Godzilla theme, the electric guitar remix? The person
was it Godzilla?
Close.
Did he write a strongly worded email?
The original composer of Godzilla and many Godzilla movies.
I mean,
Ifukube did not like it.
That doesn't really surprise me. Not because I know that much about Ifukube, but it is like a pretty wildly different take on his music.
He's like, he thought it sounded like too much like pop music, which he disliked. He was like pushing 80 at this point in his defense. So like, it's fine. He's allowed to have that opinion.
I was going to say, isn't he also the one that was like, no, I will not compose the Mothra Fairies music?
Yeah.
They are pop
That's
musicians.
right. That's right. He's just scared of this arrangement is all it is.
Yeah, he's like, it is not I who am out of touch, it's the children.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. It won't be the last that we hear of him in this era. So he'll be back.
Bring it
on. He'll have the last laugh at the end of the day, honestly. It's just all very funny. I'm like, Love the man. I full respect him so much, but he's wrong. The song fucking rips. So, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh boy. Yeah. Where do we go from here? Because there's so many different plot things. We could start from the characters, I guess, and maybe that'll spin us off, or is it easier to start from these individual plot lines? What do y'all want to do? I don't care.
I feel like if you do the plot lines, we'll run into the characters.
I think
I feel reverse of that.
Right, because I think because there are so many different things intertwined.
Yeah,
I want to make sure we dedicate our focus to those very different elements of this movie.
Yeah. What are you most interested to talk about?
Okay, sure. I think the best place to start is honestly kind of where the movie starts, and something that really surprised me, which is that action spy Bond element to this movie. I mean, the fact that this movie opens with people in like ground zero of the Godzilla attack, like retrieving material and then getting like mowed down by machine gun wielding dudes. Like I was like, whoa, this is very different than anything I've seen before. And then that goes into like a chase scene, like the whole espionage piece, like not even just like corporate espionage, even though that's what it is, but like the really, really straightforward, like these are spies who are also being spied on. Like there's layers of this spy drama happening from beginning to end. And it's really, really surprising. It really caught me off guard, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it, obviously I feel like a common refrain that I think that we've sort of combated a bit on this podcast is sort of like, well, you're here for the monsters, you're not here for the humans. The human stories are boring, which I feel like in pretty much every case that's like wrong, God,
I hate that.
But that said, I think that for people who feel like that, this movie is sort of like, okay, well, we're going to make the human story like its own fucking action movie that Godzilla doesn't even need to be in if it wasn't the case. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing. Godzilla is never concerned. I know that I'm saying this very
Sure.
literally,
yeah.
but like Godzilla is never concerned with the human story. It's all about how the human story is affected by Godzilla. And what
Absolutely.
I particularly like about this is that we've seen every movie we watched up to this point has some sort of, either current event informed dynamic at play or just some sort of human element at play. Mm-hmm. And what's wild about this one is the immediately preceding movie is the sort of Cold War sort of drama is sort of the human element there. And this movie says, what if we took all those same powers and just made them like action stars instead, like competing action stars? And it's such a wild place to go, but it's like the same players plus one. Like they've even added like a new player into the mix in Saradia, this new country that is definitely not Saudi Arabia,
Yeah, no. Yeah, why would you even think that? Don't be ridiculous.
It's just, I think the reason that I found it so entertaining and so fascinating was that this is the evolution of the Cold War part of the last movie. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because any conversation any character has about superpowers and how you deal with superpowers is folded into that part of the movie. They're inseparable.
This is going to be a wild thing to say because obviously the spy stuff is all over the movie, but I feel like there is a version of this movie that would be worse, that I think you could weirdly lift out a lot of the spy espionage stuff and the movie could still function. Like they're obviously responsible for Godzilla, but you could have a movie where it's just Godzilla comes out of the volcano and, instead of it being like they're trying to find the bacteria or, Godzilla cells and pieces that were stolen by this other terrorist force, it's like they just are developing it in a lab and it would be a perfectly functional movie. But having the biomajor aspect of it like propels what could be just sort of like boring story points in a Godzilla movie that are just sort of like creating tension, just like we've got to wait for the scientists to develop blah blah blah. Instead it's like, what if these dudes like through their corporate espionage like steal it from them, or what if they create a bomb that unleashes Godzilla? Like it's almost like taking the typical structure and just sort of like adding a little more flavor to it and action to it that has the same story points, but like moves them in a more exciting way.
That's
you know?
exactly what I was saying at the top. This is like additional flavor and seasoning. I think, yes, you could take that out and have a totally functional movie, because you still have a movie that is about scientists messing with genetic engineering in a way that they shouldn't.
Right.
They fully can still make Biollante. Biollante can still be made from Godzilla cells that were never stolen. And Biollante can still call out to Godzilla, and you still have basically all the same conflicts. But then I think you end up with a movie that is much more similar to The Return of Godzilla and isn't taking the swings that I think make this particular movie stand out and memorable in ways whether you enjoy it or not.
And I think the same would be said if you removed all of the psychic nonsense,
Yes.
which
Yes.
is lovely, but is another additional layer of just like, wait, what? We're just in a reality where there's psychics and it's fine.
I like it because it's such an adjacent world to ours. Like it's not, but exactly. It's so close.
Right. But I feel like there are all those conspiracy theorists that are like, I mean, there's a lot of movies from the 80s. I mean, The Fury, A Firestarter, the Scanners, where it's like, oh, there is secret government psychic people and they're all using their powers to get all of our secrets.
I mean, even Ghostbusters in a comedic way has folded, psychic abilities into their story.
And so like I think, like you said, it's an interesting element of flavor. But I mean, seriously, the scene when they introduce the classroom full of psychic children and they're all drawing pictures, and she's like,
obsessed.
and like you've all drawn your dreams. What did you draw? And it's just, and like 20-30 kids lift up, and it's all images of Godzilla just destroying.
Good.
It's so good.
That shit so much. Like we're for whatever reason, like this first wave of horror movies is happening in 2024, and like between The First Omen and Imaginary and whatever, they've all had their moments of like child draws creepy thing, and I always love it. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
I was listening to Seth Meyers on a podcast, and he's like, I don't know if this is a joke or more of just like a pitch for the next season of Documentary Now, but what about the guy that Hollywood hires to do all the fake children drawing of like ghosts and stuff? Like, I was just like, yeah, you need a demon looking through a window. I got that. You need a family with all X's over the eyes. I got that. I can do that for you. Whip that up.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Truly, because like that is a skill. If I tried to draw like a 6-year-old draws, it would not be convincing. I was just thinking about this too, because in the Pokemon games that came out most recently, there's an art classroom and there's a bunch of like art on the wall that's meant to look like it's done by children. And I was like, I want to know who made that art, because it wasn't a child.
So fucking good. Oh man. Yeah, no. Oh, I mean, if we're talking about the psychic stuff, you want to talk about Miki?
Yeah.
Fucking
I love
rules.
Miki.
Megumi Odaka plays Miki. I love her. She's so good in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is not her first Godzilla movie, but she was playing a different character.
No, this is her. This is her second movie ever. The first movie was just some other Toho movie. Yeah, she actually, like her predecessor in Return of Godzilla, Yasuko Sawaguchi played Naoko, and she got in the movie because she won Toho's like Cinderella contest, Cinderella audition. Megumi Odaka also won the Cinderella audition the year after that, so then she gets into this movie to be the female lead now. Based on that,
like her more.
Well, sure.
Better.
Not just
upgrade.
I mean, she's a more interesting character. She gets to do something very unique, whereas in Returns, I don't think that character got to do much more than your average female lead or sole female character amongst the bunch. And I feel like it's notable because there are actually I don't want to say several, but there isn't just one female character in this movie. There's at least a few.
Right.
And so for each one of them to feel like a distinct character, when we are so often talking about, here are the 3 guys and the girl, is something to be said in favor for this movie. And she gets to be psychic.
Yeah. And in the coolest way, like she's the most powerful. She's like the Jean Grey of the group, essentially.
Yeah.
like literally they like fly her over the volcano, and she like they get like 10 feet above the volcano, and she's like, Godzilla's awake.
It's a really nice, I think, testament to like, I think this movie's willingness to just be like, psychics are just a part of it. Accept it. We got it. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for it. Because there's no, like, there's a little bit of sort of like, is the government really going to go for this? And everybody's just like, yeah, it's fine. And then they just like let it happen. And it's like, it's fine because then you get her into these situations faster and cooler. And you don't have to worry about the logic of it. It's just like, this is part of the world now. And I love the willingness to just go for that.
And it opens up a new alleyway in which to communicate with the, 80-foot tall monster that's rampaging through the city as well too. So then you get like an idea of like, oh, well, this is what this thing is feeling, and then you can expand upon that later, perhaps,
right,
in other ways as well too.
Yeah, it's kind of genius if you think about it, because the challenge of any kaiju movie is like, if you want your kaiju to be, even if they're not fully anthropomorphic, if you want them to have some kind of personality and not just be a wandering monster, how do you try to communicate what they're doing and any interpretation of their actions, right?
Right.
And so a lot of times you'll just have scientists being like, well, because he's an animal, he would be doing this.
Right.
In this case, there's literally a psychic who can like read his mind and be like, well, there's a girl's soul inside of this plant monster.
Right, exactly.
That's calling out to you,
Yeah.
It's so genius.
And it's so ominous, like 10 minutes later when she's like, that's not her anymore. Like, that's Biollante. And it's just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, that again is the flavor, right? We've seen them like figure out bird stuff and like take advantage of like his hunger and whatever. But like, I don't know, you can only see sort of like grounded scientific explanations so many times before you want something a little bit more off the wall.
And it's not she's not used like a Deus Ex Machina either, right?
No.
Like, I think because she's in this movie, she's a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah.
They make very clear, like, she's doing her best, but eventually she's going to pass out. And it's like, I buy it. You tried your best.
Yeah. The ending doesn't hinge on her at all, which is also kind of nice, because then she's also allowed to kind of be a normal character like the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the everyday nature of her being there and this being a part of the world, I think, is nice. And it might seem a little far-fetched, like you were saying, Derek, like it might feel weird that the government is like down for this, but I don't know if this is specifically period appropriate, but it's not like governments haven't invested money in trying to determine if ESP is real. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sure.
And I literally learned the word channeler from the Pokemon franchise. Like that's how I even learned what that meant. So I feel like all the pieces are there. It probably just more in 2024 feels weird than maybe it did at the time or shortly before.
See, I'm slightly older. We had Miss Cleo.
Oh,
that's
There you go.
yeah. We know Miss Cleo. Not as intimately, but we do know.
Yeah. Dionne Warwick and her psychic friends. Call me now. Operators are standing by.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I love the psychic stuff. We already talked about the helicopter platform scene, but that is genuinely my favorite scene in the movie.
It's so
It's
good.
so badass. Good. The Zolly on Miki when like Godzilla first shows up when she's using her powers. It's just so fucking cool.
Also, Hitchcock zoom, Trombo zoom, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
Which one is that for the not film student?
So that's when the human or whatever, could be a lamp, stays still in focus and the background moves around them.
Oh,
because
okay.
what you're doing is you're zooming as Derek put it, Azali is zooming and dollying at the same time.
Got it.
So you're moving as it's zooming.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know
it's really cool effect.
The sort of like layout for that type of thing, but I didn't know what it was called or who pioneered it or what. That's cool.
Hitchcock used it a lot, so a lot of people call it Hitchcock zoom. Other people call it trombone zoom because
that makes sense.
The motion of the trombone.
Yeah.
Doug, when in Power Rangers Time Force, when Alex shows up from the future and Jen first learns that he's actually alive, they do a Zolly
I love that.
on her. Yeah, I've always remembered that because it's such a fucking cool shot.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm sure there are times where they use it poorly, but it's a cool way to do things. It's a cool shot.
It's like my favorite camera technique because it always sticks with me every time I ever see it. And I mean, I'm sure it's not used effectively, but I feel like most of the time when it's used pretty effectively, or at least most of the cases that I see. But it's always really striking. I love that they use it here. It's cool.
Yeah.
Most student films. You'll find it in most student films.
I think I might have actually included it in my student film too.
Yeah.
Now that I think
Wow.
about it. So yep, pretty on point.
Look, none of this
it looks
information
cool.
shocks me. Trust me.
It looks cool.
It would have been in my thesis film, but we were all handheld, so it would have been much more difficult to pull off. We were going for like an Amores Perros look. So that's
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so, we already mentioned her, but did you recognize, Doug, that Erica, the girl whose soul goes into Biollante, that is Yasuko Sawaguchi, who is Naoko in Return of Godzilla coming back.
Yes, that's who I was thinking of that had previously been in another Godzilla movie.
I didn't. I mean, she's in maybe like 6 minutes of this movie.
Okay,
but
you know what's funny though? She's in like 6 minutes of this movie, has more of an impact on this movie than she had on Return of Godzilla when she was the female lead.
That is true.
Read her, Derek.
That is true.
Read her.
It's not her fault. And I mean,
get her, Jade.
And she's utilized in this movie well, because it's sort of like she's just the girl who was meant to look pretty and then die the most beautiful death I've ever, like, for considering she died from like a fucking the terrorist attack or whatever. Like, she looks completely unscathed. Her dead body looks totally gorgeous, sleeping like a princess.
Yeah. Well, her official cause of death was a little nap. That's the. She was like, "Oh no, a terrorist attack! I must lie down."
Yeah.
And then she gets that beautiful moment at the end of the movie too, where it's just that image of her
head
as well too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
She certainly has the fun role.
Yeah.
I hope she got paid so much for it.
I hope so.
And I guess, I mean, we're talking about the Erica stuff. Like, the whole plot is kind of kicked off because of this Dr. Shiragami, who is played by Koji Takahashi. He did a lot of like TV and anime, but like this is like the one film role that I really recognize. He hadn't done other Godzilla stuff.
Okay. He's really stoic, and I feel like he's probably a hard person to cast because of that. Because there's a lot of emotional stuff that happens to his character specifically, and he's just kind of like, "Yeah, I've been through it." Like, it's just that.
He's an interesting character that I have kind of mixed feelings on, because I feel like it's unexpected, because I feel like in one way he could be like the heart of the movie, in another way he could be like go full mad scientist and just be like, I'm representative. And I feel like there's this weird middle ground with him, because he's so stoic that it's just like, I feel bad for you, dude. And he does have an arc where he's sort of like, I learned what I did was wrong, but sometimes I feel like it maybe is the weakest part for me, is his character in the movie. Maybe, I don't know how y'all feel.
I think his character is fine. I feel like, I don't know how much of this was direction, but I think what we're saying about the actor affects the character in this movie pretty strongly. Because I don't think you have to change very much of how his character is incorporated into the story, and have just a totally different actor approach how he is reacting to things or feeling about things differently, and have it feel like a very different character. Right.
And there's a way to portray emotionality but keep it inside that's not just like frozen off. And I don't think he's bad by any means in this movie. I do think he leads the acting choices lead much more towards science than they do mad scientist, and therefore it also like cuts him up. So like, you get that he's emotional over his daughter's death, without having him like wail and throw himself on the ground or anything. But at the same time, it still feels like there's a distance there that he's more like, well, she died, but I have a way to save her, that sort of.
Well, and I have to imagine some of that very sort of like dry scientific portrayal was preferable to the sort of like mad scientist, based on this being trying to still feel like a story grounded in current sort of scientific trends, right? Like, if we're going to do a thing that is the horror of taking genetic engineering too far, I don't think you want the science character to be this like cartoonish mad scientist. I think what's maybe missing is not necessarily how he reacts to the loss of his daughter, because you're right, Gavin, he's always kind of confident that he can do something about it. I think what is missing for me from him is sort of like that realization of horror at what he's created. Like, he just kind of like says that he regrets it, or he just kind of like says that he's, created a monster. But I'm sort of like, that's where you could shine. Like, that's where you could really be like, oh, I fucked up real bad. Because you didn't want to do this, man. Like, at the beginning of the movie, you're like, I can't be involved. So, what's the descent back into that realm? Like, it's almost like, if this is something he has a hard time staying away from, show us what it's like for him to sort of effectively like relapse into, this
Right,
obsession
right.
with genetic engineering.
That's a really good point, Doug, because I think that like there's an inherent horror in this dead girl's soul being in the body of this plant monster. And
I mean,
don't
I
think
think
it's
there's
really,
an
yeah.
I think there's an inherent horror prior to that for him being like, yeah, I have these roses and they're my daughter. And like, and everybody's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
like great. But that's horrific and like, what sort of life is that for the spirit of his
Yeah.
daughter?
It's really like muted in the movie, really. Like there's
Yeah.
things that you can interpret, right? Like I think that one thing that struck me watching it this last time was like when Miki first ominously tells Asuka like someone's calling out for you. You don't hear that? And it's like, oh, because that's Biollante like calling out to her, right? Because she knew her in a past life, right? But it's like, is she calling out to her because she's like terrified and scared that she's in this monster body and her friend is there? And it's like, someone help me, and it's just sort of calling out to the world. Because like the way that it's never, nothing is overtly stated, but the way that I interpret what Miki's talking about is that Biollante is just sort of generally just calling out, crying to the world. And then Godzilla hears those cries and comes.
Right.
And maybe Godzilla was like, you're a part of me or whatever. But I don't think Biollante was like, Godzilla, come here. I think that was sort of a side effect of Biollante crying out. Ergo, Biollante's crying out because she's terrified of what she is right now. And her father never really reacts to that. And I kind of wish that more characters would have sort of commented on how horrific this situation must be for Erica,
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to sort of like preserve, it's one thing to take a very, very clinical sort of like cloning approach, which I don't think would have made its way into this movie at this time.
Right.
But it's one thing to do that and just be like, I have preserved the DNA of my daughter and I will create a clone based on it. Like, that's not this. Like
It's not. That's the
her.
thing.
Like this is her. So I mean, they
this
should be
is
reacting
very much
pretty differently, I would say.
Yeah, this is very much clear about the fact that like this is not a different person. This is like, and it like you don't even have to be religious. Like, but this is literally the essence of the person who died at the beginning of the movie. Like, and it's now trapped in a plant, an eventual plant monster hybrid. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is her, and also it is Godzilla. Like that. Like it
Right.
is. This is. They talk about Chimera at like pretty early on, and like, that is a thing that I think the movie kind of forgets about at a certain point, where like they're not really delivering that sort of horror of the Chimera beyond that initial conversation. But like anyone who's watched Full Metal Alchemist knows, like that shit is fucked up, And this, I don't think it hurts the movie that much because you as an audience member still get it. But it is odd that the characters don't necessarily react quite as much as you would expect them to.
And this is as much as important as this is still just a thread in this like very complicated tapestry of the film.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's like, it's a thing that I think would have only made the movie better because it's like they state it's a fusion of Godzilla DNA, human DNA, and Rose DNA. That's fucking insane. Like,
right, exactly.
Bizarre. But I feel like it's sort of like, that's just stated. And it's sort of like, well, that's what we're dealing with. And I'm like, somebody should have a little bit of a meltdown about that sentence.
It's the part of the movie that is treated like every other sort of fantastical or science fiction part of the movie, but shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, treat the ESP like it is like status quo, treat the genetic engineering like it's status quo, but the Chimera piece of it, that's where people should be like, we don't want this to be part of our world. What are you injecting into our world?
I wonder if part of it is like, and correct me if I feel off base here, but like I think when you're doing like when these Godzilla movies are about, for example, nuclear weapons, there's such a very clear consequence to nuclear weapons that we have seen in the world. That's like a hugely negative impact that it's had on the world. With genetic engineering, it's a thing that people were scared of, but I feel like the fears are coming from theory more than execution, like
sure.
I don't know that there in 1989 were examples in real life of here's how genetic engineering has ruined everyone, unless I'm forgetting something.
I don't think you are. I think it's an existential fear that is different than just like nuclear weapons can wipe out the world existential fear. I think it's an existential fear of like, what is the world as we understand it if we can just create anything? I mean, this is right around the time when like the first like surrogacy was successful. And so like I'm sure there were extreme reactions to that, right? Like playing at God type reactions to that. So I think it is this, I don't think it's entirely religious, but I do think it is this sort of like questioning of the world as we've understood it, if humans have this power to genetically engineer. Like that seems like something we shouldn't be able to touch, I think, for a lot of people. It is more abstract though. I think you're right. I think you can't point to something and say, look how this went wrong already.
Right.
Let's avoid that. It's more like it's sort of the the Jurassic Park sort of like didn't think of the implications, should we, whatever. Right. Insert quote, but like that sort of idea.
So you're all telling me you've never accidentally like brundleflied a sibling or a pet? That's just something I've experienced?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not successfully.
Oh no, it wasn't a success, let me tell you. But I made a lot of money off the circus that year, I will say.
You know what? That Cronenberg design, pretty fucking cool. If it looked like that, it wouldn't be the worst thing. Yeah, but all that's to say, like that, I think that maybe makes it a little bit hard to probably made it harder for them to sort of dig into the horror of it, because there isn't really a real world sort of analog that you could point to.
I think they felt that though, because there is, they haven't completely abandoned the threat of nuclear war in this movie. And they explore it through like, okay, here's our solution to tackling Godzilla, but also this could be our solution to fending off the superpowers that just, 5 years ago thought they could drop nuclear bombs on us and be like, but it's good, right? So it's still there, but I think maybe because the genetic engineering piece of it is so abstract, they kind of had to keep the nuclear threat there and then fold one of their byproducts of genetic engineering into that part of the story. If that makes any sort of sense.
It's interesting that you bring that up too, because from the research I've done, which is nowhere near as in depth as what Derek does, I'm sure, but I also don't like to come unprepared to a podcast. the one of the reasons this script was specifically chosen was because it didn't involve nuclear war as the main sort of thrust of it, because a lot of the 5,000 scripts had some element of that in it. And I understand that. I totally get why you would think that, because that's, sort of the bread and butter of Godzilla. But like this brings it to a different place and feels very real. But as you're both saying, also doesn't truly have a practical application to our reality as we know it. I also think it's interesting that if you think about the idea that like, so this movie does have direct ties to the Return of Godzilla, and 5 years has passed, much like they did in real life, how would our reality have changed in reaction to the idea that there is a giant monster that could just rise from wherever, in this case, a volcano, and just start taking people out? Like what would we have done to create precautions to avoid that? And like, I know that's all very hypothetical, but it is like 5 years on from something horrific happening. Like what would be the human reaction to that? And it might be, it might be several alleys, but one of them might be, bioengineering, trying to create a being that could stop him, that you could control.
Well, it's one of the reasons that I actually kind of like like Asuka's father, even though he's definitely a weirdo, like he represents that, I think, Gavin, right? Like he represents in one way the sort of like anti-capitalist message that is often in these, but also like I think that particular reaction to the world as affected by Godzilla, because he is focused primarily on how the bacteria can prevent them from a Godzilla attack, and then the secondary thing is like, and also it could be sold, and also it could be a counter to nuclear warfare. But it started by a reaction to the attack.
And that's why he's so upset at the idea that it would then be weaponized, because the whole idea is that it's sort of an anti-weapon. And so there's that whole bit where he's like, you didn't say you'd be using it as a weapon, And I think it comes from that idea that like I am creating this thing that could be used to stop Godzilla, but also I'm doing it to stop everybody from being such a fucker. Yeah, and that's I agree. I think that's it's such a neat facet. But my God, this movie truly has everything. Just psychic, spores, monster plants, souls, magic, spies. Like,
it's interesting because I feel like any given movie we've talked to this point, we can sort of be like, the primary human component here is superpower politics. The primary human component here is, like technological anxiety, whatever. Like you can kind of always focus it on one thing. And I think primarily it's the genetic engineering here, but it's not like they dropped everything else. They still like brought in every other human component, and it exists in some character somewhere. So like that little bit of, capitalist conflict and like how this corporation could be folded into it is really represented by like one character, but it's still there.
Yeah.
Or like military. It's not like primarily a military thing, but it is represented by one of our main characters very specifically.
Exactly.
That one main character, Major Sho Kuroki is his name, played by Masanobu Takashima. He is the son of Tadao Takashima, who played Sakurai, the lead in King Kong vs. Godzilla.
Oh,
amazing.
Fun fact.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
A Nepo baby, you say.
Nepo baby.
He's interesting to me.
Sure.
One thing I found very, very funny about Kuroki, and I imagine this is maybe just an acting thing. There are several points in this movie where somebody is like, Kuroki, you can't do that for whatever reason. Like, that's unethical, that is dangerous, that is still in research phase. And Kuroki always responds with this particular, like, facial expression that I don't know if it's meant to be determination. I don't know if it's meant to be internal conflict. I don't know what it is meant to be, but it just looks like constipation or like dissociation. Like it's just, I don't know that it's like hitting the mark, but he does it every time. That it's like, all right, that's just what your character does when you are challenged by somebody. It's so funny.
Yeah, he's fine. I think that I feel like of all the sort of threads of like psychics and espionage and science, like the military stuff is the stuff. As cool as the Super X2 is and some of the effects is, the military stuff is like the stuff I'm least interested in this movie.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of a casualty of that because he's just representative of the cool military stuff, and it's cool when he's piloting the ship. Other than that, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's like he really is an interchangeable piece for almost every other part of the movie. Like when he's piloting the Super X2, like sure, like he's important. There's even some stuff they could have explored that they don't really explore that much with regards to like, a new generation of, the military, or a new generation of just the inheritors of Japan, or whatever the case is.
That felt like a meta commentary almost on like this movie being like a passing of like so many new people working on this movie, maybe more than anything in the context of the movie.
Right. So it's like a little bit there, but it's not like enough to make him particularly interesting. But everything outside of that, he shows up when he needs to. Like there's a moment at the end of the movie where he's very important. Like what he what he does is very important, but he really, like, as far as the geography of the movie, just sort of like teleports from one place to the next to do that thing and then teleports back. It could have been anybody. Doesn't make any
sense, actually.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, all of those things are correct.
And I didn't even think about that. It doesn't really.
He's just where you need him to be in this movie. You know what I mean? Like he's partnered up with so many different people, whether it's like partnered up with Gondo or partnered up with the scientist or partnered up with the boyfriend scientist. Like he's partnered up with literally everybody at some point because he can be anywhere doing anything.
Yeah. Well, and actually, mentioning Gondo too, I think like of the actiony, more military side of it, when you put up against Gondo, who is made to be the fun action hero guy with the quips, I think he also kind of looks worse in comparison. Yeah. Because Gondo is really fucking fun, Well,
it's interesting. I feel like Kuroki's the only character in this movie that really does give like older Showa movie vibes. He's the
1000%.
only one, and it's funny because he's probably one of the youngest people on the cast.
Because he's incredibly young. Yeah.
So it's interesting that he is the one delivering those vibes, maybe because he is, the next generation of somebody from those movies. But it really he really feels out of place for the person who's supposed to be like inheriting, or receiving the torch.
Yeah.
I watched this movie twice because I watched it the night I had a Godzilla X Kong debacle, which we'll get to when we cover that movie in 8 years. But
I saw your tweet.
yeah. So I ended up watching this instead, and then was like, this is too far in advance of the podcast. So I rewatched it again leading up to it, and I actually kind of forgot Kuroki existed and was like, wait a second, who is that guy? I forget who this guy is. So I do think for me he's the weakest piece of the cast, and could have just been your average military general in the Super X2. There are other movies that have military folks we never learn the names of or see outside that context.
Any of the military stuff he could have done, I think, could have just gone to Gondo, honestly.
But can I tell you this, Derek? I know you're going to ask at the end of the movie for some predictions.
Okay.
The vibe is so strong that if any character returns, I really feel like Kuroki is like at the top of my list of a character who could return. I don't know why, but the vibe is so strong.
That's interesting.
He's not the only one. There's two that gave me that, but he's like the one that I kept being like, I bet I'm going to see this guy again. I don't know if it's just because I was underwhelmed, but like, I feel like I'm going to see that guy again. Yeah. Not just the guy, the character.
Lips are sealed.
Yeah.
Because there is something else I've been like dancing around. And I'm like, can't do it.
I know.
For the Dougs of the world.
I think for the Doug hasn't seen aspect of this.
Yeah.
All the Heisei movies are going to be the hardest ones because there is so much continuity in this era, and way more compared to any other era that we're going to talk about. Outside of maybe like the MonsterVerse movies, I guess. Yeah, it is a little bit challenging, but you're also watching these as people will be watching them in theaters and not knowing what comes ahead. So it's so fun to hear you predict it will be so fun to hear you predict what things will be part of the grand continuity and which things are not. Because they've seen from Return of Godzilla, like, it's like so clearly in continuity with that movie, but they don't carry over any of the characters from it,
which I'm like ultimately fine with too. I don't even know if I predicted that anybody would. I think I probably said nobody would, but this movie gives me distinctly different vibes. I don't know if it's because they make such not a big deal, but they do make a point of that sort of like separate generation things. I don't know if maybe that's it, that this is their way of saying like, here's our guy. Kind of like in an anniversary, Sentai series or Kamen Rider series, like that protagonist is going to be very young so that they can continue to bring him back over and over.
Yeah. Here's our 20-year anniversary. He's still kicking.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why every franchise needs to develop regeneration.
Exactly.
Because they can just have different faces every 4 years.
Godzilla burned me with atomic breath and I got plastic surgery. Now I'm a different
Exactly.
There you go.
Different
Perfect.
guy. Weren't you? Nope. Don't. I am the same person.
I can't not just I love, since we mentioned Gondo with that.
Yeah.
Just that actual scene where Godzilla sneaks up on him is so fucking good, and they just fucking shoots the bacteria thing directly into his mouth with this cool like intravenous one-liner.
Yeah.
that scene just looks so good too. Like I was saying up at top, like the way that like Godzilla is like creeping up on him in the background through the blown out office building wall. And I do love that it's literally like, he's like, yeah, I shot the thing in your mouth. What are you going to do now? And Godzilla's like, I'm taking this building down.
Yeah.
Like, what like, wow, good job.
Yeah. Gondo gets like such cool stuff. Like he gets cool, like action movie type things, but he also gets like cool Godzilla nerd things because he has a set full of like Godzilla shit because he's monitoring Godzilla activity. So there's like pictures of Godzilla. There's a model of Godzilla. There's like a fun little Easter egg before I would have expected an Easter egg to be there. Although I guess no, I guess that would be quote in continuity, the oxygen destroyer. But like there's just a bunch of shit in there that's like, oh, this is like Gondo's space.
Yeah, he has like it's not even technically in continuity, but he has like a model of the King Kong versus Godzilla like suit, basically. He has a little model of his office. It's so funny. Yeah, there's a lot of details like that and like the this isn't a continuity, well, it's a continuity thing for these movies, but like the Godzilla Memorial Lounge that they have dinner in,
that
so
much.
Footprint skylight, that needs to be real if it isn't. I'm pretty sure it's
as somebody who lives in New York City, who's lived in New York City for almost 20 years, like We fucking love that shit. You have no idea. Like that is something that rings the most true. Like if a monster was to rampage through this city tomorrow, 3 years from now, there would be monuments to like. There'd be like, here's a playground we built in one of its foot craters. Yeah. Like that was, so yeah, very real. Like I gasped when I saw that for the first time. I was like, yeah.
So good.
Correct.
We haven't talked about our token hot couple that's in, every Godzilla movie.
And by that you mean Godzilla and Biollante.
Yeah, right. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I really wanted them to get together in the end.
Can those crazy kids make it work?
I love the enemies to lovers trope. Dr. Kirishima and Asuka. Oh, both of them in real life are like singers.
Oh.
Or were singers at one point. Kunihiko Mitamura, he had a bunch of albums in the 80s. And Yoshiko Tanaka was a member of a pop group called The Candies.
Oh, what a great name.
And then became an actress.
Okay.
So, just a fun thing about them. Other than that, I don't have anything else really to say about them.
I don't have a ton to say. I do like Asuka. I think, and the bar hasn't been super high for a lot of the female characters we've talked about to this point, but I do think she is higher than most.
She's fun. I think she gets to do some cool.
She isn't like particularly.
I think putting her alongside Miki for a lot of the movie, I think helps it a lot.
I was just gonna say not to be like, oh, she's sort of given the mother role as the only other woman in the movie, but like she works as kind of a caretaker because you see like what affection she has for her. Yeah.
Well, and like her two main relationships in the movie are her father and her boyfriend. But I feel like because of the events of the movie, she's like specifically not defined solely by those things because she is deciding whether or not to basically continue this relationship that he is going to leave the country for or whatever behind it, whatever. Like that's her thing to decide. And then with her father, she's not just like, his protege. Like she has opinions on what he's doing that aren't exactly the same as his, and talks to other people about what he's doing as a completely separate character. So it's not like she is just the girlfriend or just the daughter or just the caregiver. She has like all these different elements connecting to other people that she has some kind of control or agency or at least presence over. Kirishima, I don't have quite as much to say about.
Yeah, I don't really either, I'll be honest.
Yeah, really. I mean, they're not, they play the roles in the movie that they need to play.
Yeah.
And plenty other more interesting things in this movie than those two. And that's fine. They do what they need to do.
I'm perfectly okay with getting a movie where our two like hot guys aren't meant to be the center of our attention at all times.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Very okay with that.
I guess the only other major player that we haven't really talked about is SSS9.
SSS9.
That is the assassin.
Oh,
that's the assassin.
I legitimately had no idea what to call that person and was in all my notes just as sunglasses guy. Like I truly just had no clue, and I didn't even.
That's the longer form of SSS9, sunglasses guy. So that's the.
Yeah, makes sense.
The 9 is meant to evoke the glasses. It's interesting because, for all his talk of love of James Bond, SSS9 is essentially your Bond sort of character, and he's evil. And he's just flat out just an assassin. Like that's the and I think that's kind of interesting for a take on that.
It is because like. I don't know if he is like meant to be the most Bond character because I think you could argue or you could see a world where Kirishima is maybe supposed to be that person.
Interesting.
Because he's the one who directly confronts SSS9 at the end, but Kirishima is not given nearly enough interesting stuff to do.
He's just like a normal person throughout most of
it. To actually be that guy. It's not like he's investigating very much. He does a little bit, but not that much.
And he doesn't even get the killing blow at the end.
I was just going to say, and in the end, he can't even save himself.
Right.
He still has to rely on Kuroki? Is that?
Yes. Kuroki, you're right.
The teleporting man.
Deus Ex Machina. Literally the Deus of the Ex Machina.
They have a psychic, and she's not the Deus Ex Machina. The random pilot is.
Yeah.
And he literally like evaporates this guy,
Yeah.
which I kind of love. He just
hilarious.
like presses a button, just like, bzz.
Yeah. I find it interesting that SSS9 isn't the only spy, right? Like he could have been.
No.
It could have just
Yeah.
been
That's true.
Suradia has their spy and their agent within the country. And they even talk about how Suradia has like a company that's a front for their espionage operations and all that sort of, like, that is fully fleshed out enough. But they also choose to incorporate this American company on top of that SSS9 is actually, like, that's who he's actually monitoring, because he knows they are monitoring the genetic engineering happening in Japan. So you have this Lee and Low character who crack me up because they're always speaking in English, and it's very funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
I was gonna say you've talked a little bit about this on the show before in some of the previous episodes. How do you feel about American actors appearing in Japanese films? And I'm going to give you a moment to think about that answer by saying last Halloween I watched The X from Outer Space, which is another kaiju movie from 1967 that's not in the Godzilla films, and one of the main characters in that is like an American, a young blonde American, and essentially she was just a college student that they were like, oh, you speak Japanese, like come be in our movie. And I think it's very funny to watch. Let's just say most of the time Americans in Japanese movies are very bad. and I was curious as to how you felt. I mean, you haven't even gotten to the worst of it yet, Doug. That's the next movie. There's an American actor in the next one that is so bad that it is like 3 dimensions removed into hilarity.
Well,
Yeah.
Like, and I just always think it's like really fascinating because I think the thing is a lot of them are not professional actors. A lot of them are just people that they're like, oh, we need an American. You're an American who lives here. Come be in our film.
I mean, I guess that could be part of what's going on here. But to be totally honest, I just assumed these were Japanese. Like, these were Japanese people, not necessarily like Asian people, but people who are in Japan,
Right.
like live in Japan,
Yes.
grew up in Japan, because their English isn't great. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like Lee and Low are, a black guy and a white guy, or at least that's how they
Yeah.
come across, right? But I
Yeah.
don't know that they're American. I
and they're horny.
Oh,
Let me
yes.
tell you.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But so like, as far as just like American actors, I think we've seen some American actors who are probably speaking Japanese, and I wouldn't know the difference. Like I think in Mothra versus Godzilla, was it there, with that country had a lot of people who weren't native Japanese speakers, but who spoke Japanese either phonetically or as a second language, right, Derek? Am I making that up?
I don't actually. It might have been Mothra, solo Mothra.
It was just Mothra. It was solo Mothra. Yes,
Mothra,
absolutely. And so like in those cases, I don't really know the difference.
Right.
I don't know that we've encountered somebody who is like just like very maybe this will be the first one, the person you're referencing, that's just like very obviously an American actor being very American.
Yeah, I don't know that we've run into that
The one
Yeah.
instance that might have been, and I don't know if we were sure, in
in 1984.
in
Maybe?
84, the American general has
Yeah.
has kind of a bizarre way of speaking, but it could
Right.
be that he's an American, or at least an English native speaker who is just speaking very specifically so that it is
Right,
easier
right.
to understand by non-native
Right.
English speakers. That might be the
think-
one that we've seen.
I think that's the layer here, right? It's because like it would obviously be done very different today because everything is more globally minded now and thinking of the export. But making these movies at the time, like even though Toho might want to make an extra buck by trying to export to another country, the filmmakers are just like, we're making this for the Japanese audience.
Right,
Who the
right.
fuck cares about America, or any English speakers? So like the layers here that like it's ultimately for the Japanese audience. So like the American acting doesn't matter to them. And even if they are good at acting, they're going to want them to speak as to emphasize what they're saying as well as possible, so people can make out what they're saying. And the same probably happens in American movies, right? Like probably a lot of times when we hear someone speaking another language, they're probably not necessarily speaking in the most perfect French or something you can
Right.
speak in. They're saying the words that Americans are going to know bonjour, so they're going to say bonjour. And they're going to say oui oui, like, so I think it's probably along those lines, and we're just as Americans aren't used to seeing it through that lens. And also, again, I think it being like a movie from the 80s and seeing movies from the 60s and stuff like that, it's just they're not thinking about us when they're doing it, so it doesn't really matter how it's going to play to us.
And if it is specifically just about like incorporating those characters and therefore those actors into the movies, like I like it because we've seen very much worse alternatives, right? With things like King Kong versus Godzilla and Mothra, where they try to take it outside of Japan and then do something racist offensive. In order to to make it appear that it is outside of Japan. So if you're going to have these different countries and people from those countries represented in here, like I much prefer just having these actors from wherever they're from, representing that outside of Japan element if they're not Japanese.
Cool. I don't know if
any of that answers your question, but
it does. It all answers. Listen, I'm being a dick. I get it. No, no, that very much does answer my question. I was just curious about it. I am very I don't know. I think you're gonna really dig this other person from the next one.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, there is maybe a reason given in the movie as to why, but it's out there, man.
So like that, I mean, the next Heisei movie is it's a wild movie.
It's wild.
It's a wild movie.
Is it? It's not what we're watching next, is it?
It's not what we're watching next. It's going to be a little while before we get to it.
I'm excited for you to see the Do-Rats.
Yeah.
I think you'll think they're adorable, and that's all I will say about them.
I'm excited. I will say for this movie, it was kind of cool because it made it feel like, I don't know. I know you're saying, Derek, like they're not concerned with an international audience necessarily, but there was something about it that felt particularly international, just because there were all these major players and speaking various languages. And I mean, I guess it was technically just English and Japanese, but even just various accents,
Yeah, the scope of it feels bigger. Like when you compare it to Return of Godzilla, where it's like, even though they involve like the Soviets and the Americans, it's still all about Japan at the end of the day. And this movie, it does feel bigger than Japan, I think, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So
most of the things that I had really highlighted to make sure that we talk about, we actually got to really organically. But there is one question I have, because it happened in Mothra versus Godzilla 2, and it's not really a bad thing, but I'm just wondering if it is like a staple of these movies. Like at a certain point in Mothra versus Godzilla, and at a certain point in this movie, it suddenly goes from day to night and then is eventually day again. Is that just because like it looks cooler in the dark? Because both of them did that, and it doesn't actually make sense as far as like if you are tracking like event to event to event, like there's a part in this movie where just like suddenly at the lake everything is dark.
Yeah
And it looks cool, which is why I don't really care, but like
I think perhaps it is just that it looks really fucking cool. Like that's...
I think so, because this era of Godzilla movies does really cool shit with like backlighting, like where you see Biollante and in like in her flower form, and you'll just see the lights coming like almost like a spotlight.
Well, and there were they did have like certain spotlights in the background, which made it feel like there was like a national emergency happening, which is cool. Like it's very effective.
Yeah. I think this era does stuff like that really well, so I do think ultimately it is a rule of cool.
I'm totally fine with the rule of cool.
Like, this fight will look cooler in the dark.
It doesn't feel like a mistake. I just always notice it.
Yeah.
Oh, I have another question actually. Sorry. I don't know, because I haven't seen everything from 54 to this point, right? Like I have a whole bunch of gaps. There's a character in this movie that explicitly says Godzilla, because I'm assuming where that character is meant to be from. Is this the first movie where a character says Godzilla specifically instead of Gojira?
Oh, shit. That's
if anybody
really
knows,
question,
let me know.
actually.
Because that specific, I don't know why I caught that. But there's just the fact that a character in this Japanese Godzilla movie says Godzilla.
Well,
like specifically.
I mean,
right.
Like, I mean, not counting like the Raymond Burr
right.
re-edits or whatever, right? Like, I mean, obviously in like dubs that they do and stuff like that, but like, Godzilla 1985, they obviously do. But in Return of Godzilla, I don't think that. Do the Americans in Return of Godzilla? They probably say Godzilla at some point, don't they?
They probably would say.
They
Godzilla.
probably
That's
do.
A good point.
So at least on that one, they probably do. But I would be curious if in the Showa era movies, if anyone ever had a reason to say it.
Because I think it's SSS9 who's like, damn, it's Godzilla. Like, I think he's the one who says that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of his delivery that it stood out to me. Because you're right. Like, if the American colonel did it or American general did it, it would feel like perfectly natural in line with however he was already speaking. That's a good... I'll have to go back and check that one.
My one last thing is when they interrupt the news broadcast to announce that Godzilla is back. The thing that she's saying is that there's some new laws being passed in the United States, and I'm just curious as to what those laws would have been.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I do wonder, considering like every English speaker in this movie is like a villain.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people making this movie just don't have a great opinion of Americans. So
I think that's fair.
Valid, very valid. So maybe not great laws, whatever they are.
I just think it's funny that that's what they chose. They're like in Congress passing some new laws, and wait, Godzilla's awake. Like everybody escape.
My only other note was just like the vector graphics when
they're back.
That was fun.
They had some of that in Return of Godzilla, but there was more of it in this one, and I feel like it was so much more effective in this one.
It's funny. So then are the ones in Return of Godzilla not technically CG? Because this is supposedly the first one that uses CG for those vector graphics.
Oh, interesting.
I think that those were just animated.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I did recently just learn, like I went to a friend's birthday party where he rented out a theater and showed the movie Rock and Rule. And there's a scene where there's a lot of vector graphics. And I was like, wow, early CG, amazing. And then I found out later that those were like painstakingly hand drawn.
Well, that's one of the things I was wondering when we were talking about Return of Godzilla, and then I just completely forgot to check. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, no, I think those are all hand drawn.
That's wild.
Hand drawn things. So this was pretty wild to be using it, because it's not there for any reason other than just the flex that they can do.
Yeah, that it's awesome. That's
CG stuff.
I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. I liked it in the previous one.
Yeah, it's really neat.
I like it in this one.
Yeah.
I really want Miki's drawing tablet. I don't know what that was, but I want it.
Like makes all those noises when you're Sony, that very obvious Sony drawing.
I was going to say it was very Sony branded.
Yep.
So
I want it.
Yeah. The movie ends with Biollante going to heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I did have one more thing, by the way. There was apparently a deleted scene and something else you can find on YouTube. The original concept for Biollante, when they shot the spores out, was wherever the spores landed, there were flowers, which goes back to that idea of him trying to like turn the desert into, a sustainable. And it actually looks really fucking cool. And I understand why they didn't include it, but it's like a neat thing to be able to see. Mm-hmm. And so I would recommend looking at that, because it's Godzilla like surrounded by these
gorgeous
just mountains covered in flowers.
I love that.
Like,
it would not fit. It would not fit in the movie with like the pace that it goes, but it is worth watching. It is so beautiful. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, she goes to heaven. Godzilla goes back into the sea.
And this is me blanking because I only had time to just watch the dub of the movie. I didn't get a chance to rewatch the Japanese version, which I've seen a million times, but I'm not remembering now. In the American dub, the final line is the narrator said, "How long have we been living in such an age? Maybe it started when man first stepped out of the Garden of Eden and left his innocence behind." Is that verbatim to the Japanese cut?
That is basically verbatim in the Japanese cut that I watched.
Interesting final note to end the movie on.
Yeah, especially on the image of Godzilla just walking into the ocean, like. And I do like that, like I feel like it's rare for these movies to be like, oh, I guess we didn't stop him.
Yeah.
Because he does seem like he's.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about the bacteria and stuff, and then the fake out with that.
The bacteria poisons him, but then he gets back up and is kind of like, okay, I guess just out to sea with me.
Yeah. I did think the bacteria and temperature stuff was interesting.
It was really cool.
I don't know that there's that much to say about it, but I think it was smartly done.
Yeah, I liked it.
To allow for action to keep happening, but for there to be an end point,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I like. my qualm with the Garden of Eden thing is that I would have preferred this movie to end on Asuka asking Kirishima if he's got room in the bed when he wants to take a nap. I was like, yes, Asuka, get it.
Yeah. Good movie. Good movie.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Good
Great
fucking movie.
Yeah. I want a Biollante doll. I want,
Yeah.
I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Predictions. And Gavin, if you have questions that come up, you can ask Doug too.
Oh, sure.
I'll first ask you just for future Heisei movies.
Mm-hmm.
You can probably know the answer to this. Do you think the next movie is going to acknowledge the events of this movie or continue any threads from this movie?
Yes. I think it will acknowledge the events of this movie. I don't know how much.
Yeah.
But given that this one was, technically a direct sequel,
Yeah, sure.
technically picks up right where the last one left off, even though it does a 5-year jump. I think this one will fully acknowledge the events.
Wow, what are you, Miki? Just pulling that out of the ether? Wow, using your super skills.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, speaking of a character from this movie, what character? You've already mentioned one. What characters do you think are going to appear again?
Yeah, Kuroki's at the top of my list. I also think Miki has high potential to be a character that we see again based on what she can do and how normal it is in the world.
Yeah, how normal is the world? Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I'm curious if you know this. Do you know if Biollante is ever going to appear in any other Godzilla movie?
I'm actually really curious, and don't tell me, but I'm actually really curious about this one because I know that monsters return for sure. That happens plenty. And I know that Biollante is something I was aware of. So there's clearly, there was clearly an impact and a reputation beyond the sphere of Godzilla, but I don't know if it's just because this movie is really striking or if it's because Biollante continues to return. She doesn't die, so she can very easily. Not that would ever stop anybody from bringing a monster back. But I don't know how she would fit into another movie that wasn't about her again. So I feel like I often say that they will return. So this time around, because of even just those little questions, I'm going to say this was her show. And this is where you find her and we don't see her again.
Nice. And do you think Godzilla is going to continue to be an antagonist like he is in this movie?
Oh man, that question's always the hardest question.
Well, and you don't know it. You know the arc of the Showa era, but you don't know the arc of these other eras. So
I feel like these two movies back to back have been really. I think they've handled Godzilla really well. Where in Returns they made him a really sympathetic character, but it wasn't like he was a hero. It just was what they had to do to him was pretty widely regarded as that sucks. And this one he's pissed and so is a bit more destructive intentionally. So I think it's going to keep following that trajectory. I think humans and Godzilla are not going to get along. I don't think he is their champion. And I think when they intersect, he will continue, at least for one more movie, to be sort of more in the antagonist camp. Not villain necessarily, but in that antagonist camp.
Sure. Well, we'll find out more about that when we get back to the Heisei era in a few months.
In 2025.
I think it'll be during the summer when we or either summer. Yeah, I think it'll be summertime when we get back to this era. So it won't be. You won't have to wait that long.
What's funny is I don't even know what the next one is.
Do you want me to tell you, or do you want to just?
I mean, I've already made my predictions, so go for it.
Godzilla versus King Ghidorah.
See, and I don't know Ghidorah yet,
Yep.
so I that wouldn't have helped.
Yep. Nope. What we are doing next month, this is not going to be easy for you either. Next month, May 13th, our episode, we're returning to the Millennium Era. It is the second movie in the Millennium Era. And remember, these are anthology movies, right? So these are unrelated. So this movie is Godzilla versus Megaguirus.
Which is not Mega Anguirus, much to my disappointment.
Have you seen that one, Gavin?
I've not actually. Yeah. The Millennium series is also kind of a blank for me.
Sure. There's some good ones. There's some good ones in the Millennium.
No,
Era.
I know.
Yeah. Doug, any idea? Have you ever even heard of Megaguirus outside of this podcast?
No, this is actually Anguirus and Megaguirus are the first
Guiruses you've ever met.
I know, right? The Guirus family is not one I intersected with.
I grew up near them, but we didn't really socialize. We didn't run in the same circles.
I heard they were a little weird.
Yeah, there's a bit odd. Yeah.
But no, I know nothing about Megaguirus. I don't even know what it looks like.
Cool.
Like Biollante, I didn't know exactly what it looked like, but I know I had seen her before, so I knew she was a plant. I didn't actually really know much about her final form. But like the Rose, I know I had seen. And obviously Mothra I was familiar with, and King Kong and all that, but I have no clue.
Cool.
I think this will be the first monster I know I'm getting into, but have no idea anything about.
I'm not surprised. So
am I gonna love Megaguirus like I love Anguirus?
well, like you love I don't that's
specifically
a love,
like I love Anguirus.
That's a love that goes so deep, Doug, that I don't know if any monster ever is going to breach that.
Interesting.
I don't think he's got a chance to beat your love for Anguirus, unfortunately. This is like a hard, vague question, so sorry, but like since this is an anthology series, they're all different, but like I'm just curious, like, do you expect it to be very similar still to Godzilla 2000, or do you think they're going to swing to something wildly different? What do you think?
I think the fact that it is specifically treated like, or at least viewed as, an anthology era versus something like Showa, which isn't considered an anthology, but aren't necessarily direct continuations of each other. I feel like, to me, that says each movie is going to be pretty contained and kind of do its own thing. And if they just decide that like Godzilla like has hair in this one, they just do. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just going to be what that movie does, and then you'll never see it again. Like, I think they're going to be pretty distinct entries.
Furry
but
Godzilla.
Please don't mention the hair. He's really sensitive about it since he got it put in. It's a new treatment.
Thought it was going to help him out a little bit.
Exactly.
His image would change.
Yeah, he really thought it would bring that pride back, but I just think it's made him feel a little awkward in the space. So
Yeah, I get it. You just need a stylist.
Yeah.
You know?
exactly. I told him Rogaine. It would have worked. It would have just worked. But no, he had
Got to
to
start early though.
Exactly.
Last question, the one you love. Godzilla, protagonist, antagonist. What do you think?
Oh, interesting. God, that's impossible
It's
to
kind
know.
of impossible.
It's like a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
So okay, let's say that he's a hero, and that Megaguirus is just like,
Sure.
explicitly villain.
Sure. Cool.
And they've somehow figured out a way to befriend Godzilla or control Godzilla. I don't know.
Yeah. Sure.
Is Megaguirus going to be one that's going to be a challenge for folks to find?
No.
Folks being me.
This one's super easy.
That's an
to
easy
find.
one?
This is really easy.
Okay, cool.
All the Millennium movies have no rights entanglements. Yeah, that was actually,
Hell
what?
yeah.
I didn't even mention this one is like a famously hard movie to find because it's been like I've still never figured out what the rights issue is. There's a rights issue somewhere.
Do you think it has to do with all the Miramax stuff that happened, the lawsuit that sort of happened, and
Maybe.
which is funny because like then the version that does get released, so Miramax agreed, Doug, to release it in America, and then there was a lot of stuff back and forth between like whether they were going to let them do it and whatnot. They brought them to court over it, and eventually Miramax won. And famously, Miramax chops the hell out of every foreign film that they release, but I think due to all the hullabaloo that sort of happened with the court case, they just literally released the uncut English dub. And so I think they're almost exact mirrors, except for, obviously the dub is different than what is being said. But
I think that, but I think the compromise was that like it didn't release theatrically. It was like direct to video, which not what happened with Return of Godzilla.
Right. I think HBO Home Video is the one who ended up releasing.
Yeah. I think it was a weird situation. It was troubling. It was a thing too, because as much as we love this movie, it disappointed in the box office. Like it did worse than Return of Godzilla.
No.
Yeah. I think it's partially contributed to, so Back to the Future is really, really popular in Japan. Back to the Future Part 2 was out right alongside of it. So like
That's rough.
it was yeah. And this movie is like a little bit weird. Biollante isn't a Mothra, right? She was a new monster. So there wasn't anything.
Biollante is probably not selling very many toys.
Well, I was just going to say,
right. Yeah.
It was also a very rushed production, which is wild because it doesn't look rushed in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
No.
But because of that, there was no toy tie-in line.
Oh, fuck, I didn't know that.
Yes, and so and for the next film there was, because there was plenty of time. And so it's one of those things where it didn't really get marketed to kids as well.
Yeah. So all of those factors meant that Miramax was like, this movie isn't going to do well. So
yeah,
the dominoes fell after that. You're probably right. Part of the lawsuit, I think, because I think anytime I I might be talking my ass here, but I feel like Toho doesn't really like the international Hong Kong dubs very much either. So like, I mean,
that's the impression I've also gotten. Once again, I could also be wrong, but but there's two white people saying it, so it must be correct,
right? But I think probably so. Like, they're not going to be working hard to get this movie released in America if that means the dub gets more eyes, you know. So they're not working hard to untangle it. Supposedly, when Pluto got the rights, Biollante was part of the rights for Pluto to stream it, but they don't have it on demand for some reason.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Supposedly, but like now I'm like, was that just incorrect? Because it's literally never been on the Pluto channel. You know, their whole thing was that it was all the Godzilla movies, and this just isn't part of it for some reason. So I don't know.
It's like Paramount Plus and all of Star Trek. Not anymore.
Yeah.
I will say this because I got to get my pitch in here. If you live near and have access to a large library system, libraries are often on top of this shit, right? Mm-hmm. So like every movie we've talked about so far has been in my library's system. I haven't been able to always get them in time for our recording, so that's a thing that you have to be on top of. But if you have a large library system near you, it is worth checking. I was telling Derek that I was having a conversation with the guy at our large, city branch. And he was saying like, oh yeah, I try to stay on top of it. Anytime there's like a new edition released, I try to get 5 or 10 copies of that. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah,
so, and they have, I mean, that's literally what librarians do, right? Is they get shit when it is released. So, if things end up being hard to find aftermarket, libraries typically don't have to worry about that if they're already on top of it. So it's worth checking. It's not a guarantee, but it's always worth checking.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe one day, that's the hope, is because like Toho has done like 4K restorations of some of these movies. I'll shout out Robert, who I read the email from him in our last episode, was telling me about like the 4K restoration they did of this movie. We don't have access to it, but you can probably find the files on the internet if you know where to look.
What is this internet thing you keep talking about? I did enjoy that I was reading about the 4K upgrade and that they had to downgrade it to 2K to broadcast, which I think is
what?
As somebody who has edited in 4K, I've worked in 4K and had people be like, downgrade it to 1080 because we don't have the ability to broadcast that. But it's weird to me to like, I don't know, if your job is to broadcast movies, it seems like you can broadcast in 4K. But whatever. The human eye, up into a certain height, the human eye can't even really perceive 4K, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I found that like, oh, interesting, weird to like downgrade something that you just
restored.
Upgraded.
Yeah.
Strange.
But maybe one day we'll get, our Showa set equivalent for the Heisei era. That
would be so nice.
Has those movies, and Millennium era too, but especially Heisei era since they're so hard to find some of these movies. Mm-hmm. But you can find if you know where to look, and it's worth it because this movie is great.
Yeah.
Gavin, thank you so much.
Thank you both so much. This is so much fun, and I genuinely love this show. I've not missed an episode so far. Yes. And even like I still have not seen Millennium, and I listened to that episode because I was just like, I'm enjoying it so much. I'm not gonna skip one. But yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh no, I mean, first of all, I'm a big fan regardless. But I do enjoy that you're doing this, and I think it's such a neat project.
Yeah, thank you. Well, tell everyone where they can find you and what you're working on.
So I co-host a podcast called The Mix Reviews. Wow, I forgot the word podcast. Guys, we've been
recording for a very long time.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have stared directly into that total eclipse. Whatever. But I co-host a podcast called The Mix Reviews with my good friend Louis. We're a film podcast where we take a film subject, such as an actor, director, or mini genre, and we do as much research as we possibly can, watch as many movies as we possibly can, and give all that information back to you. Plus, we tell you what we like and what we don't like. We do entire film histories. Sometimes, like I said, it's an actor. Sometimes it's a genre. Whatever we're sort of feeling that month. We got some good stuff coming out. Our next episode, which records at the end of this month, is maybe the tallest order that's ever been asked of us. Not in terms of volume, but in terms of content. And I'm very terrified to do it. It's an episode on Steven Spielberg. So,
oh wow! How are you doing that?
So, Louie invited a friend. It's what she wanted to do. I am the most obliging host in the world.
That could have been a two-part episode.
I'm absolutely terrified to do it.
Wow.
But
this is why, like, I'm so impressed by what you and Louis do. I'm also terrified by what you and Louis do.
Literally the most populous director on the planet. If I say one wrong thing, I feel like I'm just going to be yeeted off the earth. But yeah, it's a great show. It's a lot of fun. And it's also part of the Glitterjaw podcast, Glitterjaw Queer Podcasting Network, which you both so lovingly allowed us to join, to come in and steal your thunder. And it's just been a true delight. And you guys have hooked us up with so many cool people as well too, because we were able to do David's show, and David's such a delight as well too. I hear Louis is eventually going on Gimmicks, apologizing beforehand for him, and no, you'll have fun. So thank you both so much, and you can find the Mixed Reviews anywhere else that you find podcasts. I mean, it feels like every other week another podcast is player is going under, so like I'm almost beginning to think like I can't list them anymore, but you know, they're there.
Yeah.
Wherever you listen.
People can find it on somewhere on that internet that we keep speaking of.
The is important though, because many other people have started mixed review shows after us, and so the mixed reviews is it's part of the name.
Look for the yellow and black.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes, it's great. Definitely give that a listen. Thank you so much again. Also, shout out to Brett Punk, who's the artist who did our cover art for this episode. It's a beautiful image, drawn image of Biollante's first form. It's super cool. So if the podcast app you use does not display the individual episode cover art, which many of them don't, check us out on our social media or look it up on one of the other podcast platforms that do show it to see that art, because it's really fucking good. So thank you, Brett, for doing that for us. If you like to find other queer creators to talk about media, Gavin already mentioned it, but check out the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective at glitterjaw.com. You can follow it on Twitter, Facebook, and Blue Sky at Glitterjaw, and Instagram at GlitterjawPods. But Doug, if people want to find you and everything you're working on individually, where can they do that?
You can find me all over the place at Ikkybooley, ICKYBOOLEY, and you can find pretty much anything I'm working on through Glitterjaw. I do a show with Derek that is a weekly Spider-Man cartoon podcast. We deep dive into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made.
Oh, Louis and I also did that one. Just
yes, exactly, yeah. And I think we've gotten every Glitterjaw host at this point, but that's a conversation for Walloping Web Snappers. And I also do a show on Glitterjaw with my friend Katie called Novel Gaming, where we catch up on all the books and video games and sometimes other media we've been consuming lately. What about you, Derek?
Sure. You can find me everywhere at Derek B. Gale. You can find my other podcast, Gimmicks, that I do with David. That is a show where we look at the high concept, experimental, structure breaking, gimmicky episodes of TV. Gavin's been on that one a couple of times.
So sorry.
No, those episodes are great. I mean, that Quantum Leap episode wasn't good, but the podcast about it was great. I also do a podcast with Tommy called Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, where we're looking at all of the Simpsons tie-in video games chronologically.
So good.
Thank you.
So good.
I learned so much about the freaking Game Boy. In the last episode, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this knowledge, but I have it now.
Yeah, if you
I was geeking out so hard.
If you don't care about Simpsons or tie-in video games, it's just the majority of the show is mostly about video game history, way more than it is about the actual Simpsons games that don't have a lot of substance to them, at least the ones that we're in the middle of covering right now. So check that out just for cool video game stuff. And you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/wallopingwebsnappers. That's, of course, our Spider-Man show's name, but that Patreon supports everything Doug and I do together, which includes Skrionk, and we do have some Godzilla-related bonus episodes that we've done before and that are in the works for the future as well. So check that out for some more Skrionk content. Check out our Discord. We have a link to that in the show notes. We have a channel specifically for Skrionk if you want to talk about the show. Email us at skrionkpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions or feedback for us. Please rate, review, and subscribe on all podcast platforms. And next month, we're returning to the Millennium Era with 2000's Godzilla versus Megaguirus. Not Godzilla 2000, which came out in 1999, but the real movie that actually came out in 2000, Godzilla versus Megaguirus, because that's not confusing.
Great.
They make it so easy to remember.
See you then.
Bye.